So I get 5 on the hands. It's been so long. Whatever. Be gentle. All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Wednesday, a rare appearance on the Deeper Dive holiday moment here. We're shuffling the schedule around a little bit, but not to fear. You're all going to be in good hands here. We are with a very dapper looking Adam Scherer. We've got a nice, what is it, a 10 gamer, an 8 gamer. This whole week has been nice. Front loaded, yes. 2-hour window to the twin bill nightcap on the West Coast. Yes. Did you see, I'm sure you did, but last night, how wild was it that 2 games had a 240 implied point total?
Yeah, and we have a couple of them tonight too, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking back to the days when we used to play NBA DFS, and anybody got over 200 was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're over 200. And occasionally that was when they had the Golden State Warriors and the death lineup, and they'd get to go get somebody and be like a 215 over under. And you'd be like, oh my God, we got to play everybody from this game. And now that's the baseline. Oh, good times here, Adam. Good times. How are you feeling about the holidays? You're back home now. You're done with the visiting the mom. What's going on?
Yeah, no, holidays were nice. It's very small, like just immediate family for me. So yeah, it was easy. Spent an extra day or two at my mom's, but yeah, I got back this morning. Glad to be back in my apartment for a week or week and a half before I have to go back home for my birthday.
Very nice. Very nice. All righty. Well, let's get into the fun here. We do have about 57 minutes or so. We're not going to want to cheat Greg Ehrenberg out of any time. I've learned that the hard way. So maybe we'll even end this show early so he gets to go more than 90 minutes with Eric Lindquist. They will be coming up after us. Of course, they're going to take that extra 30 minutes. This is all going to be brought to you guys by No House Advantage. If you want to check them out, we'll talk about them a little bit throughout the show. But if you go in and sign up through the link that is below us here in the YouTube description, when you go through that link, it tags you with the code that's going to get you up to a $100 deposit match with your first deposit. And we get a little referral, little hat tip that says, hey, saw your site on Stokastic. Keep sponsoring some shows over there, giving them content and having us put up the free projections as well. We'll get to all that, but we've got a lot of injury news. We've seen some things trickle in thus far. We'll probably get a little more during the show, and then of course Live Before Lock will be able to cover it up, cover up the rest of it for us. But so we're going to jump right in here, and we're going to look at Orlando at Detroit as our first game. Adam, we have Orlando favored by 1.5. This one is in Detroit. Everybody's pretty much healthy now for the Magic, with the exception of Jalen Suggs. He's still out. This is a back-to-back for the Magic. They spread the minutes around pretty evenly last night. Nobody got really more than 30. They did lose 129-110 to Los Angeles. And then on the other side, we have Detroit. They will be without Marvin Bagley, who is out with a non-COVID illness. And then, of course, Cade Cunningham lost for the season here. Gary Harris is available to play tonight, as is Wendell Carter. Those guys were just, back-to-back questionables earlier today. Makes this a less than appealing game on both sides. What do you got for us in our first effort here?
Yeah, particularly the Orlando side. I mean, they're just running a pretty deep rotation right now as they get healthier. Talked about it this morning that it's going to get even worse whenever you get Jonathan Isaac back, because that guy still plays basketball apparently. But this is like the deepest bad team that I can ever remember seeing. They have so many actual NBA rotation players, but they also suck as a team. But it makes it really, really difficult from a DFS standpoint once they start coming back. You have Markelle Fultz up near 6K now. He's pulling 4% ownership, should play 28 to 30 minutes. Certainly capable of beating that price tag, but I think pretty much where he should be priced, given that this team is getting healthier and healthier. Cole Anthony, the upside that he has if he happens to run into 28 minutes, but that's far from, a certainty. Typically, you're getting around 24, 25 minutes from him. At 5,100, there's some upside there, but you're also getting his fair share of 20 and 22-minute games where he's just not going to look good at all. Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, these guys are pretty much correctly priced as well. So, it is a pretty good matchup for Orlando. I do think that there's some appeal in tournaments given how low these guys are owned. And if you look at the boom bust tool, we have Markelle Fultz, 4.5% ownership, 8% chance of being optimal. Paolo Banchero, 3.5% ownership, 6.5% chance of being optimal. 2.8% ownership for Franz Wagner, 4.7% chance of being optimal. So it's a lot of guys that are going quote unquote under owned, but also still extremely low probability of being in the optimal lineup. So here and there, guys you can mix into large field tournament lineups, especially if you're playing 150, but not guys that I would be looking to really prioritize in single entry, 3 max, and also not guys that I would be expecting to have a lot of across 150.
All right. Anything else worth discussing in this one, or shall we continue along? Because there's going to be some other matchups where you're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it from Orlando.
All right, let's move on to the Phoenix Suns.
Oh wait, I didn't talk about Detroit.
Oh, you really want to play anybody from Detroit?
I think they look really good.
Okay, sell me on them here. I mean, Bagley is out. That does help the front court minutes get. Maybe Beef Stew gets a few more minutes. What are you thinking here on the breakdown? Is this an appealing pace matchup? To me, it just seemed like a yeah. I'm not that excited about it, but clearly we're here to listen to your advice, not mine.
I think the pricing is just really favorable. It's a good matchup against Orlando, and Marvin Bagley being out is a pretty big deal, especially if they run the same rotation that they ran last game. There's basically 2 ways they can go with the front court rotation with Marvin Bagley being out. The first way is that Nerlens Noel becomes the backup center, and maybe you get a couple extra minutes for Jalen Duren, but then the rest of the backup minutes go to Nerlens Noel, and nobody else is affected. The other thing that they could do, though, and this is what they did in the last game against the Clippers, is Nerlens Noel still doesn't enter the rotation. Isaiah Stewart becomes the backup center. His minutes get staggered with Jalen Duren, so one of them is always on the floor. If they go that route like they did last game, that opens up wing minutes. You get more minutes from Sadiq Bey, you get more minutes from Alec Burks, and you also get Amadou Diallo in the rotation. Not that that really matters for DFS, but that's where sort of the rest of those minutes go. If they go that route again, you are likely going to get 22 to 24 minutes from Burks. You're likely to get around 26 minutes from Sadiq Bey. So it makes both of them sort of interesting, inexpensive options in tournaments where Bey is 3,700 on DraftKings, Burks is 3,800. Burks is pulling 26% ownership, Bey's pulling 14. But then also it makes Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren more appealing. Jalen Duren at 5,100, he's averaged around 29 minutes per game as a starter. But with no Marvin Bagley, you certainly could see more playing time from him. He played about 33 and a half minutes in regulation last game. Isaiah Stewart, who'd been playing about 28 minutes per night with Detroit's normal rotation, played 34 minutes in almost 35 minutes in regulation last game. So you can expect, if they stick with that same rotation, more playing time from both of those guys. They're both really cheap. Stewart, power forward eligible as well, at just 4,800. So they both look really good. And then you have a $5,600 Killian Hayes and a $5,700 Jaden Ivey. Those are both very cheap price tags for those two as well. So there's like 7 guys on Detroit right now pulling double-digit ownership on DraftKings, and I really can't make a strong case against any of them. The worst thing that could happen for Detroit's rotation is if they went to Nerlens Noel as the backup center. That would kill value in Bey. It would kill value in Ivy. It would make Stewart look a bit worse, although even in 28 minutes, he would look pretty good at 4,800. But based on what we saw last game, I think it's likely they go with the same rotation. And one thing that makes me kind of optimistic too, I know somebody this morning had mentioned that Orlando's got a pretty big front court, so maybe you would see Nerlens Noel get those backup center minutes. And it is certainly possible because they do have a big front court. But in that last game where they were going with Isaiah Stewart as the backup center, Ivica Zubac was playing backup center for the Clippers. So they still went with Stewart as the backup there. Now, the difference is that the rest, 1 through 4 was all guards. But, you still could go that route against Orlando. It probably is a little bit more likely that they go Noel than it was against the Clippers, but my guess would still be that they go with the same rotation they did last game, in which case everybody here is appealing.
So I've got everything isolated on our stuff now, and I just kind of erroneously assumed that they were all going to kind of come out in the wash. It does look like on DraftKings a lot of their prices have been depressed somewhat, so that's rather helpful here. For the Detroit side of things, I still don't. I mean, Alec Burks, man, I want no part of that, even at 3,800. But he's available at point guard and shooting guard. Do you think he replicates anywhere close to his 28 minutes of the last game? I mean, he cracked 20 minutes twice in the prior 4 with 21, 12, 17, and 22. Did anything change on that, or is this just kind of the vagaries of rotations in the ebb and flow of the NBA?
Did anything change on who?
Alec Burks.
Marvin Bagley being out changed.
So that I didn't think that have that wide of a trickle down effect.
So because they went with Stewart as the backup center, it opened up more wing minutes. If they go with Nerlens Noel as the backup center and keep Stewart as a 4, then those extra Alec Burke minutes disappear. But moving Isaiah Stewart, making him the backup center, you're getting a few more minutes where either like you're getting a couple extra minutes for Bey at the 4. You're also getting a few more minutes where, like, for example, you could have Bojan Bogdanovic sliding down and Burke's playing a little bit more. So, and he still only played about 23 minutes in regulation. So he only picked up a couple of minutes.
Right. I had not thought the full sliding down there because I don't think of Burks as swing. Okay, cool. There we go. All righty. On to our next game. We do have, I guess, most of the news we were waiting for here for Phoenix and Washington. So we were expecting a few different people to be out. Phoenix, last I looked, was favored by a bucket. That's up to 2.5 now. So Phoenix is going to be without, obviously, Cam Johnson, Cam Payne, but Chris Paul is not on the injury report. Of course, we'll want to make sure everything is cool going through shoot around and all that, but this is one of the first 2 games of the night, so it looks like Paul will be playing. Shamet is out for the Wizards. Bradley Beal out with a hamstring issue. Delon Wright is available, so it'll be a back-to-back for him. The Wizards and Suns both played last night, not each other though. The Wizards somehow knocked off Philadelphia, despite Philly having, well, until Luka got going, 2 of the highest fantasy producers out there, which is just kind of funny that they still lost. You had Phoenix, they won last night handily. I was all fired up to have no Chris Paul. Do you trust Chris Paul somewhat? Does Dwayne Washington recapture any of the magic here, or does he fade away as the clock strikes midnight on Cinderella? Is it going to be a Damian Lee night? What do you want to do here with the Suns against the Wizards team that suddenly forgot how to play defense? They were good for that last year with Coach Wes Unseld Jr., but they've kind of slid back to the bottom third of the league. They're not bottom 2 like they were for 3 consecutive years, but they're back to their old ways. What do you want to do here with the Suns on a back-to-back?
So the first thing we need from Phoenix is a starting lineup. Yesterday, they started Jock Landale alongside DeAndre Ayton, which was really surprising, but you could certainly see that here as well. Washington has been going to this Kristaps Porzingis plus Daniel Gafford starting lineup, which I personally hate, but they won the game yesterday. They beat the shit out of the Kings with it a couple games ago. So I assume it's here to stay for now, especially with Beal out too. You know, there's just another spot that they need to fill in the lineup. So I think there's a good chance you get the Porzingis Gafford lineup from Washington, which would make it pretty easy to go with the Landale Ayton starting lineup from the Suns. So for now, I'm just assuming they go with that same starting lineup. We got 24 minutes from Landale, but about 4 of that was garbage time. It's likely you get, 20 to 22 minutes from him, probably plays the first, second, and third quarters. I doubt that he closes the game. It's likely you get either Damian Lee or Josh Okogie in the closing lineup rather, in his place. So coming in as a 4K center at 5% ownership, there is some upside just because he's a good point per minute guy. And there's always the chance that he just plays more minutes than expected. But that's my best guess, is that you're getting, low 20s in minutes from Landale. DeAndre Ayton's going to look good at 7,400. We know his usage goes up without Devin Booker. He should play 30 to 32 minutes. He's going to look pretty good. He's pulling the most ownership here. Getting to the backcourt is where it gets really interesting. Chris Paul at 8,300 only played 24 minutes last game because of the blowout. Didn't play it all down the stretch. Also didn't play the final 4 minutes of the first half. I'm not sure what the reason for that was, but obviously that's a little bit unusual. In a competitive game, you should be getting 34, 35 minutes from Chris Paul. He does see a bit of a bump without Devin Booker. He's been about 1.1 DraftKings points per minute without Booker on the floor. So there is some appeal there, but that salary also is about where it should be. The spot that's really interesting, and we talked about it a lot this morning, I've talked about it a lot on Twitter, Dwayne Washington at 3,200. So Dwayne Washington, you had to have him to win a tournament last night. He's a good point per minute guy, or at least he has been this year. Greg made the point this morning that in previous seasons he hasn't been, but in his 150 minutes that he's played this year, Dwayne Washington's been a very high usage guy. He's got about a 30% usage rate, and he's been very productive on a point per minute basis. So the way you kind of have to project him here is purely as Chris Paul's backup. He's played a total of 2 minutes alongside Chris Paul this season. With this team shorthanded, maybe you see a couple minutes alongside Chris Paul here, but he didn't play any minutes alongside him yesterday. So there's been a lot of Landry Shamet was out, so clearly Dwayne Washington was going to be better. Landry Shamet impacts Dwayne Washington in that when Landry Shamet is in and Devin Booker is in, Shamet's the backup point guard. But if Payne is out. But other than that, it's not like you were getting any minutes at the 2 for Dwayne Washington, and you can't expect him to get many, if any, there. So basically, he's a really cheap, really good point per minute guy that if something goes wrong, whether Chris Paul gets hurt, gets in foul trouble, or the game blows out, it doesn't take a lot for Dwayne Washington to end up being a really, really good play. So really, it just comes down to ownership. Right now, we have him projected for 7.5%. If he's 7% owned, he's somewhat interesting in tournaments just because of the ceiling he gives you. The big question I have, though, he was 11% owned on a 10-game slate yesterday and scored 45 DraftKings points. I think he comes in considerably higher owned than 7.5%. I think it's likely just a situation that's really, really difficult to model. And so I'd be pretty hesitant to go there in tournaments. He's basically the point guard equivalent of Andre Drummond, the Andre Drummond play that we talk about a lot, where like he's going to project at 3,200. If you give him 15, 16 minutes, he's going to project as like a 5x, 5.5x value. The problem is that it's very unlikely he gets extra minutes unless something happens to Chris Paul. But if something does happen to Chris Paul or this game blows out, it does not take much at all for Washington to end up being a really good play. So it's a really, really volatile play. Typically, ownership dictates kind of what I want to do with those plays. If he's actually going to be 7% owned, I would have no issue getting to some of him. If he's going to be like 25%, which is kind of my guess, then I would have an issue with it.
So let's just say this is the thought exercise of someone in this particular situation. Let's say he does come in at 7. Where would you want to be above that? Just approximately.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, I'm not.
Or like a Drummond type play, this type of play.
Right.
Very volatile.
So one, it's going to depend on other value. Like,
yeah.
And that's another thing here with why I would kind of shy away from him. This is a 7 p.m. game. There's a very good chance that come 8:30, we get news that, Jamal Murray's not playing, Bruce Brown's not playing, and you're going to
Chenzo could be out.
Right. Green, like you could be getting a lot of value opening up after lock potentially. Right now, we don't have a lot of it. So that's another issue. But if you guaranteed to me that he's like 7% owned, I could see getting, coming in around like 10, 15%.
Okay. So about double. And I agree with you. The number I have in my mind is 20% is where
right. Like we have him with an 11% chance of being optimal. I think that's a very reasonable number. My big concern here is just that there's a lot of recency bias. There's a lot of confirmation bias. He was more popular than this on a bigger slate yesterday. I just have a really hard time thinking he's actually this low owned.
Yeah, this is the perfect. It's going to confirm whatever happens. Everybody's going to be right.
Right.
We are either going to be wrong. We should, or you did play him and you're awesome, or you didn't. You're an idiot. It's just this is going to be a fun one. Or he fails and it's going to be a disaster. All right. I just was more curious. So everybody watching, I just was more. When Adam and Greg and these guys that focus a lot on, which I think you should, especially if you're building out 150, focusing a lot on the leverage, the potential upside, the volatility, all that fun stuff. I just sometimes am curious, here's what my gut would say if I was doing that. How high or how low do they get, right? Because sometimes we'll see, they'll say, hey, I'm going to get up to 80% of the player. This is not the kind of player you would do that, but just how do you treat a very volatile player in a situation where it looks like, well, wow, he could be really good. He could also turn pretty sour pretty quickly if as Adam pointed out, if we're locked in with him and we do get some other additional information. Okay, let's look at the Washington side here. So we kind of know what happens when Bradley Beal is out. It really, the production, the field goal opportunities, those are going to kind of go to Kristaps Porzingis and Kuzma. And then minutes will probably go a little bit to Monte Morris. You could probably see Denny Avdia will slide in a little bit. And although they could start Corey Kispert as well, Kispert, he's scoring only. Just stay the heck away from him. Avdia is somewhat interesting. Monte Morris, I'm not overly excited about. Just he seems like an adequate point guard. But wow, as a Wizards fan, a little disappointed in what we got from Denver on that one. And then Barton's still lurking there somewhere as well. So really for me, the main focus would be Porzingis and Kuzma. I know you love to watch the Wizards. They're your favorite team as well. My adopted team, since there's no more Seattle Supersonics, I will be jumping ship from the Wizards once the Supersonics are reconstituted somewhere. What do you want to do with the Wizards? Is it more than the big two? Do you want to work Rui in here? What do you got for us here on the Wiz?
So I did totally forget to mention it. Josh Okogie getting 3% ownership for Phoenix is actually a pretty interesting tournament play. He wasn't popular yesterday. He played 26 minutes, including some garbage time. He's likely to play 20 to 22 minutes. He's a fantasy point per minute guy. I think he's a very interesting tournament play at low ownership. He is a little bit more expensive than Washington, but he is someone that is actually likely to benefit from Shamet being out in terms of playing time as opposed to Washington. For the Washington Wizards side, Porzingis at 9K, slight bump for him without Beal. Get a bump for Kuzma as well at 8,400. They both look fine, but those salaries have also adjusted because Beal was only back for a couple of games. So there's not a ton of value there, but certainly plenty of upside. You should get 34, 35 minutes from Porzingis, 37 or so from Kuzma. Rui Hachimura coming in at 3,900. Minutes should be available for him. I rolled the dice on him yesterday. I think I shouldn't have, but I still rolled the dice even with Avdia back, hoping he would close over Avdia. He didn't. But here, taking Bradley Beal's minutes out, there should be enough minutes available where you are getting 24, 25 minutes from Rui. He's only 3,900, so 10% ownership coming into him. That makes some sense. 4,800 on Morris is fine. Like I said, I expect Gafford to start. He's 4,500. Probably not playing a ton of minutes, though, even as a starter. I think you can probably do better at the center position tonight. Played 19 minutes last night. Did have some foul trouble. Played like 20 or 21 minutes in his start a couple games ago alongside Porzingis. So I'm not overly confident in Gafford, but at no ownership, if you want to roll the dice and hope he gets 24, 25 minutes, I think it's okay. There's just other centers I would go to first.
All right. And that's kind of the there's a lot of moving parts in this game, but it really coalesces around just a handful of players. It's kind of interesting how the particular chips have fallen. Anything else from this game you want to dive into a little deeper, since this is the deeper dive brought to you by No House Advantage?
Nope.
All righty, let's move on to our next game. Brooklyn Nets at the Atlanta Hawks. We've got the Nets favored by 6.5. This is a 234 implied point total here. You have Harris is out for Brooklyn. On the Atlanta side, no Clint Capella again. You've got questionable is DeAndre Hunter, Jalen Johnson. He's dealing with a sore foot. Johnson, that is. Trae Young tweaked his calf last night. We're still waiting to see what we're going to hear from him. And then this is a back-to-back, so we may or may not see Bogdan Bogdanovic here. Last night, Atlanta lost 129-114 in Indianapolis here. Looking to the Brooklyn side, they're getting better all of a sudden. Remember when they just looked like an absolute meltdown team, and they've slowly been rising up through the standings here. My favorite thing of all of them is wagering on Ben Simmons rebound props. You can get that at 6.5 right now over at BetMGM. Just throwing it out there for anybody who wants to play on BetMGM, the sports wagering site that you can also get a $1,000 risk-free bet and 2 months of Stokastic by signing up. Check the link in the description below us here on the YouTube video. Talk to us about the Nets, Adam.
So we did get a pretty nice Nets rotation last game. You didn't have Seth Curry in that one. You also didn't have Joe Harris. Today you don't have Joe Harris, but you do have Seth Curry back. I still think the Nets look pretty appealing here, though. It's a good game environment, high total, and you're getting ownership, across the board, but nothing too crazy. Nick Claxton coming in at about 12% ownership, $5,700 center, should give you 28 to 30 minutes. He played 30 last game against Cleveland. Ben Simmons played 34 minutes. That's in line with what we were getting from him prior to his injury. We had seen some just really weird Nets rotations and some blowouts after he came back, but I feel pretty comfortable expecting around 32 minutes from him with the upside for a little bit more. He is only 6,200 on DraftKings. I think he's 72 or 7,300 on FanDuel, going a little bit under owned there as well. So I like getting to Ben Simmons here. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are always just going to be good plays. Durant's salaries come down a little bit, 10-2 on DraftKings, 10-4 on FanDuel. Irving coming in at 8,400. They both look pretty good. Royce O'Neal's not been playing as many minutes recently, but he did play 36 last game. Again, that was a game without Curry, so maybe you lose a couple of minutes for O'Neal. But still, if he plays 32 or 34 minutes at 4,300, he's going to look okay. I don't mind still taking some shots on TJ Warren at 8 or 9% ownership as well. There is a little bit more risk there this game than there was last game because of Seth Curry being back. But at the same time, we saw TJ Warren play 27 minutes, and that's a big deal because the main thing holding TJ Warren back this year has been health and him working his way back from injury. So knowing he physically can play 27 minutes is really good. And he's not, or at least I don't view him as, I don't think he is, just a random bench piece for the Nets that is occasionally going to pick up minutes here and there. I think as the season goes forward, you see TJ Warren start to play a big role on this team. So I think it's likely that you just continue to see 24 to 26 minutes from TJ Warren. And as long as the ownership is going to be relatively low, I'm fine just expecting that to be the case. And, if I'm wrong, I don't win today. But if you're right, it can pay off really well because TJ Warren is a good point per minute guy. He closed the first half over Nick Claxton last game. He didn't close he technically closed the game, but that was over Kevin Durant after he, I believe, fouled out. So I think expecting around 24 minutes from Warren makes some sense. And at 4K, that's still a pretty solid value.
All right. With all of the moving parts in Atlanta, how do you want to approach breaking this one down?
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult to do right now because there's a lot of pieces that are questionable and that matter. So we have Trae Young questionable, DeAndre Hunter questionable, Bogdanovic questionable. All three, or Bogdanovic and Young started yesterday. Hunter was out yesterday. If Young is out, regardless of Bogdanovic's status, DeJounte Murray looks better. If they're both out, DeJounte Murray looks even better than he would if Bogdanovic is in. But if Trae Young is out, it's a nice bump for DeJounte Murray. And DeJounte Murray is cheap. He's priced for Trae Young to be in. So he ends up looking like a really strong mid-range play if Young is out. Even if Young is in, DeJounte Murray's fine, but it's more of a tournament, contrarian play. Whereas if Young's out, you're going to get a lot of ownership coming into Murray, but it's going to be fully deserved as well because he's a much better point per minute guy without Trae Young on the floor. Similarly for Bogdanovic, so if Hunter is out, let's say Hunter is out, Murray and Young are in, you should get Bogdanovic starting again. He should play into the mid-30s. Takes a little bit of a bump in terms of production since he's playing a lot of minutes alongside Young and Murray, but still playing pretty big minutes, still certainly a reasonable option at $6,300. If you take Trae Young out, things just look a little bit better for Bogdanovic. If DeAndre Hunter is starting, he's 5K and probably playing a lot of minutes in an appealing game. Not as exciting an offensive player, but still could be some value there at 5K. So a lot of moving pieces there. John Collins looks good at 5,300 one way or the other. He's going to look better if Trae Young is out. You should get more usage there. We did see John Collins get backup center minutes yesterday. I wasn't sure how that rotation would go with DeAndre Hunter out, but we still only got 4 minutes from Frank Kaminsky outside of garbage time. In the second half, you had John Collins backing up Onyeka Okongwu. Those are really, really productive minutes for John Collins. It makes me like him even more knowing that they went that route yesterday, Capella being out here. So you have Okongwu, who looks like a pretty good value at 5,200. He was in foul trouble a lot yesterday, so he disappointed. But on average, he's playing around 32 minutes per game in his starts going back to last season. He's about a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy with Trae Young. So Okongwu looks like a good value, but really, really like John Collins no matter what. Looks better if Young is out. And then if Young is out, you start getting more ownership coming into guys, more ownership and higher projections coming into guys like Murray, Bogdanovic if he is in, Hunter if he is in.
All righty. Gonna have kind of, and if we get anything that's coming up, because the injury report's going to come out here in the next 10 minutes or so. If we get anything definitive on these guys, same thing goes with the Lakers in Miami. Of course, we'll circle back on these, but it's at this point it's just a thought exercise, and there's other things we want to talk about. Plus, we got another 90 minutes coming after us to break that down. So thank you for running with those particular set of assumptions there, Adam. Are you good to transfer onto the Lakers at Miami game now?
Yep.
All righty. Lakers at Miami. Miami favored by 8. This is a back-to-back for Los Angeles. They won 129-110 in Orlando last night. They also played on Christmas, so that makes this a 3-4 for them. LeBron is questionable with an ankle injury maintenance. So odds are we're probably going to see LeBron sit today. That would just kind of be my speculation. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. So it kind of is what it is. I mean, in 2 days, he turns 38, Adam. December 30th, he's going to be 38. That he's operating at this particular level, yet again, carrying the team. It's going to be interesting. If he plays, yay, good. We know what we're going to get. If he's out, let's talk about that a little bit. And then Russell Westbrook coming off the bench, a triple-double is sixth man of the year. What's going on here, Adam?
Do you remember your 38th birthday, or was 30 years ago too long?
Oh, that's painful. But for chat, I started playing DFS when Jason Kidd was still in the player pool. Okay. It's been a long time. All right. Fine. I'm going to work up something mean for you now, Adam, too. Jeez. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the LeBron news obviously is big here. I'm not expecting him to play. He had said yesterday that he wasn't sure. And typically when he says he's not sure, I just assume he's not going to play. But it's obviously a big deal. If LeBron is in 10-3, Clearly, he's a good option without Anthony Davis. If he is out, though, increased production for Westbrook, increased production for everybody. But in particular, Russell Westbrook, 1.36 DraftKings points per minute this season without LeBron or Davis on the floor. Thomas Bryant gets up to 1.1 DraftKings points per minute. Usage rate gets up to 20.9%. You see Dennis Schroeder's usage rate get up to 24.5%. He averages a fantasy point per minute. So those three guys in particular, Westbrook, Bryant, Schroeder, would be the first three that I start looking to if LeBron is out. Then, if you want to roll the dice on a Patrick Beverley, Lonnie Walker, they're fine. Wenyen Gabriel starts to look kind of interesting too at 3,400. We've seen him essentially being the backup to Thomas Bryant, but they can play alongside each other. And if LeBron's out, you're talking about a lot of front court minutes that are available. So while Troy Brown would soak some of those up, and you're probably going to get Max Christie in the rotation, it wouldn't be surprising if Wenyen Gabriel did go from like 16 minutes up to say 20, 21 at 3,400. So that could be a sneaky spot that gets a little bit better without LeBron as well.
All right, we're seeing some of the Miami side trickle in here, so we may get a little more on LeBron shortly, but Bam Adebayo is in, Caleb Martin is in, Gabe Vincent is in. Nothing yet on Jimmy Butler. Let me see. I haven't opened up the injury report to parse through it, so I'm just looking at one of the aggregator sites on there. Let me go see if I can find some specific Jimmy Butler stuff here. How do you want to approach Bam Adebayo? All of a sudden, anywhere he has power forward eligibility, he's going to be looking pretty good tonight.
Yeah. Did we get Butler news or just the Bam?
No, we don't. That's the one we don't have. Okay. I was going to see.
So Bam's going to look good one way or the other. He's 8,700 on DraftKings. Should just be good to go. Play 35, 36 minutes. Even if Butler is in, he's a reasonable option. This is a very friendly matchup against a Lakers team that plays fast, doesn't have much defense in general, certainly doesn't have much interior defense without Anthony Davis. Thomas Bryant is not known for his defensive prowess. So sets up as a nice spot for Bam. If Butler is out, Bam looks even better. You see the rates for him go up across the board. Similarly, Tyler Hero and Kyle Lowry will look better. They are both priced up. We've just had Butler miss so many games recently that there's not a ton of extra value there, but you would still get more playing time and more production, or more expected production, at least from those two. So at 9,300, I think Hero is pretty difficult to play if Bam and Butler are both in. But if you take Butler out, Hero starts to look like at least a neutral play, and the same goes for Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, Ira Winderman just tweeted 30 seconds ago, Adebayo probable, Vincent and Caleb Martin available, Butler still questionable, Dedmon and Yurtseven are out.
Yeah.
So we won't have that news before the next one. Anything else from this game? Oh, look at that. We're almost back on our time track again.
No.
All right. Chat, you guys are all hilarious. I love this. They're coming up with all sorts of age jokes. I think the winner is EMac was playing DFS when Moby Dick was a minnow. That's pretty good. I think that's very solid.
Wasn't Moby Dick?
But you guys know what else is solid there is the old no house advantage, because we have a nice deal for you coming through our link here that is below us here in the YouTube description, and you too can get a $100 deposit match. They'll match any deposit up through the first $100 if you have come in through that link. What is No House Advantage? Well, it's a site that has a couple different playing styles here. We can go against other gamers. This is the peer versus peer contest. This is the GPPs. How does it work? Well, they post out a whole bunch of player props. These are static props. They are not dynamic. Think of them as salaries. When news comes out for DFS players, the salaries don't adjust if there are injuries, right? So that's kind of we all get to look, we all get to work from the same player pool here, the same question. So we put together a card. We choose 10 of these. You can use each player once. We choose over or under whatever the number is going to be on that. We assign these the confidence points, 10 through 1. And when you get the prop or the question correct, you get those points. Those points are how you score against other players in the game. It's once you see it, if you ever done anything confidence related, you'll get it. It makes total sense. It just is hard to describe in words quickly. So check that out. They also have a second version of the game. This is versus the house. There is now a house advantage because they put up dynamic props. So for those of you that are in states that do not have sports wagering, here's a way to scratch the itch. You can build out player prop parlay cards, 2, 3, 4, or 5 player props on those. The more you put in the card, the more you get right, the more you win. 5, get 5 of 5 on your 5 player prop card. It's 21x your entry. That is the highest payout in the industry right now. for a 5v5. So check that out. That is No House Advantage. We have free player props for all, or projections for both the player props versus the house, as well as the player props for their GPP contests. And hey, we even built out CSVs for you that you can download and upload by putting in all of the player props in the best probability order. Check that out. No House Advantage. Okay, Adam, let's take a peek over here at the next set of games. Milwaukee. They were -2.5 when I wrote this down, and then the old Jrue Holiday was ruled out. Let me make sure that was not an erroneous report. That is correct. He's going to be out with an injury, so looks like a Milwaukee favored by 2.5. Chris Middleton, of course, remains out with his knee. On the Chicago side, you've got Alex Caruso is questionable. He's missed a couple games here he's been in the concussion protocol again. And then you've got Javonte Green. He's missed a couple games. He's got a sore knee. So those are the moving parts there. Milwaukee, wow. We know that Giannis is going to look pretty good. We know that there is a player that does carry revenge in his heart. That actually is Bobby Portis. He should be fired up for this one with completely unfettered minutes yet again. Bucks are looking pretty good here. We have Pat Connaughton has an intriguing, I thought as of this morning, he was a placeholder value. We haven't got a lot of things breaking our way with more players out. He could turn into an actual decent value there where you can get him with his multi-position eligibility. Take us through the Milwaukee.
Yeah, so they certainly look better.
Really, did I just say I was going to make a joke about Fear the Deer, and I swerved at the last minute, but it didn't work. Get it? Swerving to miss the deer. Get it. Last minute. Okay.
I see what you did. Yeah, so I mean, this morning I thought Milwaukee was basically Giannis, Jrue, or bust. Now it looks totally different without Jrue. Giannis looks absolutely fantastic. He always looks good. That goes without saying. But without Holiday and Middleton on the floor this year, he's averaged about 1.7 DraftKings points per minute since the start of last season. 1.77 DraftKings points per minute in 716 minutes played for Giannis. 39.5% usage rate, 47.9% assist percentage, 17.5% rebounding percentage. These are Luka Doncic type numbers, or type rates, I should say. And it's a pretty nice matchup against the Bulls as well. So Giannis looks absolutely great. Outside of that, there's still plenty that you can get to. Pat Connaughton coming in at 4K. He started Christmas Day, played 30 minutes, lost about 4 minutes to garbage time. He's likely to play 30 plus again here. He's played 545 minutes since last year without Jrue or Middleton, 0.79 DraftKings points per minute for him. So that's a pretty good value. Grayson Allen, 0.85 DraftKings points per minute overall without those two on the floor. If you put Giannis on the floor and take off Jrue and Middleton, you expect those rates to come down a bit. But Grayson Allen, 0.7 DraftKings points per minute, same for Pat Connaughton with Giannis on. But they both should get enough playing time where at 3,900 for Allen and 4K for Connaughton, they look pretty good. Javon Carter, 3,500. I expect he will start in place of Jrue Holiday. We have seen him start a lot of games this year. When he has started with two of Middleton, Jrue, and Giannis active, he's been really bad. But in the games without Holiday, without Holiday, he does look a little bit better. He's played a total of 218 minutes without Holiday or Middleton and with Giannis on the floor since last year. 0.71 DraftKings points per minute for him, but likely to approach 30 minutes. So certainly a reasonable value at 3,500, especially if other stuff doesn't open up. So you have those three guys as value here in addition to Giannis. And then you get to the front court where Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis, neither one are pulling ownership, but there is some upside for them. You certainly could get a couple extra minutes of Portis and Lopez playing alongside each other in this spot without Jrue or Middleton on the floor since last year, and with Giannis. 129 minutes for Lopez, 0.85 DraftKings points per minute. Portis, 1.04 DraftKings points per minute. And for him, he'll play a nice chunk of minutes without Giannis as well. So plenty of upside there. And then if you wanted a sleeper value to potentially roll the dice on, Joe Ingles is $3,300. He's getting 1% ownership compared to the 27% coming in for Javon Carter. Joe Ingles played 19 and a half minutes last game. He's kind of like TJ Warren, someone that is going to be a part of this rotation going forward. So I think that you do just kind of see those minutes potentially keep creeping up. It wouldn't surprise me if you got like 22, 24 minutes from Joe Ingles here. he's not a great point per minute guy, and his role isn't to be a very great, DFS option. But if he's not going to get any ownership and Javon Carter is going to pull close to 30%, I think Joe Ingles is a very good pivot.
I'm feeling like I need to ban somebody permanently. I'm going to think about this for a second. Brandon Katz, this one is for you. So just ponder that for a moment. But let's talk about a super chat. We'll just bring some positivity back here before I bring up the ban hammer. Taylor Weidman says, Adam and EMac, thank you for a great time. Great, straightforward content. As with all of his super chats, please do share this with Lindquist so he can play an extra lineup. Apparently, Lindy's falling on hard times and he doesn't play 150 lineups anymore. Is that what I'm trying to infer to this one?
We will not play 150 anymore. I didn't know he played more than 5.
Oh, there we go. Let's get some things riled up. Let's start a cross-show battle because I won't be on this particular show for a couple months, so this will be good. I'll just leave some gifts out there for everybody here. We love you, Lindy. We love you. Let's see here. Oh, why do I want to ban Brandon Katz? Well, for the comment, Adam, that he says Giannis scores more on the road because he doesn't rely as much on the role players for the Bucks. Now, while that sounds fun, his points this season, 33 home, 28.5 on the road. Advantage home. Last season, 31.1 at home, 28.7 on the road. Advantage home. We're going back to his last MVP year. Less than half a point difference. He did score less at home. Don't throw out stupid stats if you're not going to back them up, right? Because that one seems like a good one, but that's bad analysis. Because if you break it down by fantasy points as well, the advantage is still at home.
To be fair, that's still like a top 5 most intelligent thing Brandon Katz has ever said in this chat, even though it was completely wrong.
So we'll see. Maybe we put up a poll. We put up a chat vote poll, Jordan. We'll see. All right. Let's be smart out there. 2 things we don't like: citing things that sound really cool that have no basis in anything, and lying about people being out for injuries during NBA. Those are the 2 things. Just let's not do that. This is a collective community here. If you want to spout it off, don't make it sound like you know what you're talking about, because then we have to explain to the other people in chat that you really don't know what you're talking about. So there we go. All right, let's cover some other stuff so Adam can demonstrate that I don't know what I'm talking about here. That's why it's always fun doing shows with Adam, because Adam is an amazing analyst here. So I just thought lob up the questions here and he hits all the home runs. But you guys notice that Adam's not wearing his hat today, his very, very cool hat. So I'm going to show you a magic trick. All right, ready? I'm going to make Adam's very cool hat turn into a very uncool hat. Watch this.
What is happening right now?
I'm wearing the hat that you always wear.
Oh, okay.
And it looks cool on you, but now that I'm wearing it, no one's going to want to wear it anymore. It's no longer cool.
Got it.
You need to get a new hat, Adam. My gift to you. Okay, yes, that is a very good one. I had this one as well. I haven't adjusted the brim and I left the sticker on it just so I could look cool. Hey, young kids. All right, let's get back to the games here. Let's get back to the games. Let me see. Sorry, Adam. So back on the Milwaukee side, I broke that one down pretty good. I was so busy looking at chat. Assuming all the big 3 are in and good to go here for the Bulls, they would be the ones you like. Are you feeling interested about in Andre Drummond? I know you like to bring him up from time to time. He actually played with Vooch in the last game, or I think was that 2 games ago. 2 games ago. These games all start to run together when you look at the game flow box scores every 3 days and try to put a series or a significant time frame together. Is that a new thing? Was that a specific matchup thing? Take us through the Bulls.
Yeah, so first for the Bulls, the injury news here is important, even though it's guys that suck, or at least from a fantasy standpoint. Alex Caruso questionable, Javonte Green questionable, Derek Jones Jr. doubtful. If Alex Caruso is out, we should once again get Ayo Dosunmu in the starting lineup. He's cheap. He probably plays 30 to 32 minutes. Not a great point per minute guy. Only played 23 minutes last game, but on average as a starter, he does play 30 to 32. So he would look like an okay value if Caruso is out. If Caruso is in at 3,900 and starting, you and not limited, you could take some shots there, but it kind of just makes everything messy. Also, if Caruso is out, you can get potentially more playing time from Goran Dragic and or Kobe White. Dragic coming in at 3,200, White at 4K. Saw 18 minutes from Dragic last game, about 28 from White. White would be the one that I expect to play more minutes of the two, but Dragic obviously being the cheaper one. If they're both likely to be low owned, so just sort of interesting tournament options where you're just hoping to get lucky at low ownership. The other option from a rotation standpoint, if Caruso and Green and Jones are all out, is what Chicago did a couple of games ago against the Knicks, where they actually played Vooch 39 minutes and Drummond 20 minutes. We hadn't seen that previously this year. I don't expect it to be a thing that they do very frequently, but this is a Milwaukee team where they're going to play a nice chunk of minutes where you have Giannis Lopez or Giannis Portis or Portis Lopez or whatever it may be. And obviously Portis and Lopez can stretch the floor a bit, but Giannis, you're not really worried about that. You could get away with at least a couple minutes of that Drummond Vooch lineup if you wanted to, if you just wanted to get a couple of bigs in there, try and protect the paint. Again, I don't know that they'll do it or not, but if all three of those guys are out, then you're at least getting the backup center minutes for Drummond. That's pretty much a lock that he'll play whatever minutes Vooch doesn't play. If Vooch plays 30, it's 18 for Drummond. If Vooch plays 39, it's 9 for Drummond. I don't know why I picked 39. That's an awkward number to do the math on quickly, but it's 9 for Drummond. But then you also do get that added upside of like maybe he plays a couple more minutes. Maybe Vooch plays 34 and Drummond plays 16 or 17. So there is a path for Drummond. He is getting 9% ownership, so not like he's going unowned. It's very similar to the Dwayne Washington play, where it's a very good point per minute guy. You're just hoping to get lucky on the minutes. As long as the ownership is modest, that's a perfectly good approach. The issue is just when the ownership gets out of hand. As far as the big three guys, Vooch, only 3% owned at 7,700, I think is very interesting. I had a lot of him the other day. He completely disappointed, but on average, you're getting 34, 35 minutes from him. He's a good point per minute guy. DeRozan and Levine both pretty much correctly priced, which keeps the ownership down, but they still have plenty of upside in tournaments.
All right. And then for those of you hoping for Bobby Portis revenge, just keep in mind he only has more than 30 fantasy points against Chicago 3 times since he's been with the Bucks in 7 attempts. Those high water marks are 4 times, 30, 31, 35, and then he did have a 43 a couple of years ago. So
yeah, DeAndre Hunter is out. Young, Bogdanovich, and Jalen Johnson, all game time decisions. So
no real change there from your analysis.
Yeah. So Bogdanovich, if he's in, should be starting. If he is also out, you're probably getting like AJ Griffin.
Okay. My filler arc with Super Chat says Chris Webber is out today. Smash the Vlade Divac. Vlade was one of my favorite players in the league. Why? Because I don't know. Of course he was. So was Kurt Rambis. Yes, I liked Lakers front court players. Let's see here. Brandon Katz, I'm just having some fun. Let's relax. I'm not going to ban you yet. Lindquist might, but I won't. 3 to go here, Adam. We'll zip through
Jordan
these.
Minnesota Timberwolves. That was good.
Pardon?
Jordan banned Eric the other day. That was a good one.
Oh, interesting. What to hear about that in the virtual green room. Bans the guy who takes him to basketball games. That's just kind of biting the hand that feeds you there. Minnesota Timberwolves at the New Orleans Pelicans. Questionable yet again is slow-mo. That would be Kyle Anderson. McLaughlin is out. Obviously, Karl Anthony Towns is out. On the New Orleans side, we are without Brandon Ingram yet again, dealing with his toe. Herb Jones still in the health and safety protocol. This will be Zion's first game in 9 days. He did not play in the last one, though he had cleared the health and safety protocol. They were worried about conditioning. So we should see him today. Not sure that he'll get entirely full minutes, but we'll let Adam run with that one. Take us through the T-Wolves here against the Pels. 6.5-point underdogs here. I thought this would be a closer spread.
Another game where we have a questionable player that actually has a pretty big impact here with Kyle Anderson. He's missed the last several games, and if he's out, it's not that it makes one guy look great because salaries have adjusted a bit. Austin Rivers would likely start in his place. He's 3,800. He's also Austin Rivers. He sucks. If you want to hope he shoots 100% from 3, then by all means, but not anybody I'd be looking to go out of my way to get to. You should get more playing time from Jaden McDaniels if Anderson is out as well, but he's already up to 5,200, so tough to get too excited about him. The spot that gets really interesting is that we've seen Naz Reid suddenly start playing a lot of minutes alongside Rudy Gobert. You got about 25 minutes, or I'm trying to pull it up. One game he played 25, one he played 29 recently. Last game it was 29. The game before that it was 25. And Naz Reid's a very good point per minute guy. He's 4,700. He's only a center, so that's annoying. But if Anderson is out, I think there's a very good chance you're getting 24 plus minutes from Reid again. Another thing potentially working in his favor is that he actually closed basically both halves over Rudy Gobert last game. Reid played the final 4 minutes and 40 seconds of the first half. He played the final 5 minutes and 22 seconds of the second half. Gobert subbed back in with 28 seconds to go. But basically, you had Reid close both halves. And like Gobert, clearly, I think that people hate on Gobert unfairly because his game does not translate to exciting basketball. Yeah, exciting offense. But with this Minnesota team, it does make some sense to get Reid out there more because he is more capable of spacing the floor. We know Anthony Edwards has had a ton of trouble getting to the rim when Rudy Gobert is out there. So it has been sort of problematic, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we do start seeing a little bit more Naz Reid, especially given how well he's been playing when given the opportunities. He's kind of just making it difficult to keep him off the floor. So if Anderson's out, I think it's likely you're getting mid-20s from Reid. If Anderson is in, I don't think I would want to play Reid because I think it just becomes difficult for him to get those extra minutes. But it would actually concern me a little bit on Rudy Gobert because how far away are they from saying, all right, 28 minutes for Gobert, 20 for Reid, or, something like that? I don't really know the answer, but it would scare me a little bit. As far as Gobert goes, though, there is also plenty of tournament upside there. We saw 31 minutes last game, but recently you've also gotten 36, 37. If he's playing well and if Minnesota's playing well, he can get those extra minutes. So 7,300 is still pretty interesting in tournaments. I also am still interested in the D'Angelo Russell price tag at 7,600. He's just playing huge minutes without Jordan McLaughlin. Played 36 last game, played 39 the game before that. Certainly still has some upside at that price tag.
All right, hit that like button. We've got 2,700 watching, 300 likes. Come on, we can do better than that. Please, I'm asking nicely. Super chat here from Zachary Pennell. He asks, is $500 too much to leave in salary for NBA? I would say no, it's not. Generally, when I'm playing DK, I leave it, and FanDuel as well. I set my salary cap to be no more than $1,000 from the maximum, just to give myself a little wiggle room. But usually you can almost always find an upgrade. When you get to the smaller slates, you may want to do, or if somebody's really egregiously priced, then you may not want that particular rule. You kind of have to know where the outliers are, because if someone, should be, 6,500 and they're 4,000 and you want them in an otherwise perfect lineup that you really can't upgrade anywhere else, then leave the money on the table. But just keep an eye on it. And in basketball, you can usually find a way to spend anything, but if I'm within 500, I wouldn't even blink twice.
Yeah, 500 normally is my salary floor on normal size slates. Okay. Most lineups I build end up basically at the cap. But NBA in particular, you don't want to go really beyond that, because you do just start getting to a situation where you're probably just end up leaving better plays on the table. But I use that as my floor. If you have a lineup you really like and it's just like a situation where you're saying, all right, I don't know what a good example on this slate is, but let's say it's your utility spot and you can either leave $200 on the table and play D'Angelo Russell, or leave $500 and play Rudy Gobert, and you want Rudy Gobert for whatever reason, that's perfectly fine. They're basically the same play. It doesn't make a difference. But the problem is that you also probably could go through your lineup and find a couple spots where it's if I go up 200,
this 2v2 works out better than this.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. I do just not go below that though.
All right, Jimmy Butler is in. We still have Trae Young questions. How do you like Jimmy Butler going against the Lakers?
Yeah. I think the price tag's pretty much where it should be. It's still a good matchup, but 9,400 for Butler, kind of difficult to get to.
Okay. Does this dampen any interest in Bam or Hero for you?
I still think Bam looks okay, but certainly would have liked him more if Butler were out. I think it's really tough to get to much Hero or Lowry.
All right. The Pellies, Zion, back. We'll see how much that takes. Still, Herb Jones being the health and safety protocol and Brandon Ingram out does leave a lot of minutes for the Wings there. However, we've seen the salaries tick up here for New Orleans. Do any of the Pelicans stand out? And then we'll hit our 10 o'clock games.
Yeah, so I mean, Zion being back certainly kills a lot of the value here because, like you said, you have CJ McCollum's price skyrocketing. He obviously is less productive when Zion is in. 9,100 is a pretty difficult price tag to pay there. Zion's interesting. He's 10-1 on DraftKings. I think 10-1 on FanDuel too. If not, it's within a couple $100 of there. I haven't seen anything about him being limited. I'm assuming he's not going to be. And if that's the case, you're probably getting 34 plus minutes in a good spot. 120 implied total for New Orleans. At low ownership, I do think Zion's a pretty interesting play. Beyond that, I don't have a lot. Like, Jovel's price tag has come up, and then now you have Larry Nance back and you have Zion back. So you're back to that point that we were at like at the beginning of the season where, it's like, well, if I get lucky and Jovel plays 30 minutes, that'll be great. But also, like, he's almost never playing 30 minutes. So tough to want to get there. Murphy's up to 5K. Najee Marshall's up to 5,200. I expect him to get the start in place of Herb Jones. But yeah, there's not much here outside of just taking shots on Zion.
All right. Super chat, a second one here from Zach. He says Connaughton or Carter.
Connaughton or Carter. They're similar. I would lean Connaughton, I think.
All right. Let's get to our last two games. Sorry, show after us. We're gonna eat in a little bit of your time here, but that's okay. You're gonna go an extra 30 minutes. That is all brought to you by No House Advantage. So we got you guys covered. Hour and 3 minutes to lock. They're going an extra 30 minutes afterwards. Talk about all the fun stuff that we have here, both at Stokastic and No House Advantage, particularly the versus the house option, which is their player prop wagering side of things. Utah Jazz at the Golden State Warriors. Kelly Olynyk is set to return. He has been out for the last 10 days. That is a 4-game absence. On the Golden State side, no Curry, no Wiggins. Unlikely to have Thompson because it's a back-to-back. I think he has been ruled out. Draymond still questionable, I believe, for the same reason. This is a 3-4. As well as a back-to-back for Golden State. They did beat Charlotte 110-105 last night here. Does Olynyk dramatically change anything to Utah? I think we're going to see Kessler remain in the starting lineup. My guess is that Vanderbilt goes to the bench.
My guess is Kessler goes to the bench.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah. So in the second half, last game, Kessler went to the bench. They went with Malik Beasley. I think they probably go back to the starting lineup they were using previously with Olynyk and Vandy. It certainly could be Kessler, but my guess is that Vandy stays in the starting lineup. Conley at 4,900, pulling 15% ownership. He's fine. He's like a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy. Should play 28 to 30 minutes here. As we get better value, his relative value is going to drop, but if we don't get better value, Connolly certainly looks fine. Should get around 34 minutes from Clarkson at 6,800. He's pulling 13% ownership. Nice matchup, fast-paced game. I like the upside Jordan Clarkson gives you. The other piece that I would have some interest in here is Lauri Markkanen. We did see him play huge minutes, played about 38 last game. That was good to see because the Jazz had deepened their rotation a couple games ago and only played like 32 minutes for Lowry. So seeing him get back to his normal minutes was good to see. Clearly a massive ceiling for him at 8,300. Also a pretty healthy price tag.
All right. The Golden State side, I see Dante DiVincenzo is a potential arrest candidate as well. That was different when I looked at it this morning. How do you feel about DiVincenzo and Jordan Poole? They should have all the opportunities in the world. Neither one's really got there. DiVincenzo, because he tends to defer and not shoot when he is taking his turn to run the offense. 2 of the last 4 games, he has 6 or fewer field goal attempts. Jordan Poole, since he's taken over for Curry, I think he has 1 game with 40 fantasy points. That was a bit of a surprise for me. Is this just happenstance for these guys, or is this enough key players are missing? The house of cards is sort of collapsing, but as long as they keep winning, who cares? Yeah,
I mean, the upside's certainly still there. You've gotten 338 minutes from Poole without Clay or Curry this year, 34% usage rate, 35% assist percentage, 1.13 DraftKings points per minute. Should play 36 minutes or so if this game's competitive. I still like getting to Jordan Poole here, even at the elevated price tag. Clearly, he's had some disappointing games recently, but the opportunities are going to be there. He's essentially the offense. DiVincenzo and Green are both questionable. Don't know if they'll play. If they do, they both look like good enough options. Draymond's been playing big minutes recently. DiVincenzo has been playing big minutes as a starter. He's a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy in 184 minutes without Clay and Curry. If he's out, I expect that you would see, if either of them are out, I expect you see Kuminga in the starting lineup. If they're both in, I don't know if Kuminga starts or if Moody starts, but once you take out one or both of DiVincenzo and Green, I expect you see Kuminga in the starting lineup. He's not a great fantasy producer, but 0.85 to 0.9 fantasy points per minute, should play at least 30 minutes if he's starting, so would certainly have some interest there. If you get all those guys ruled out, then you start getting into maybe taking some shots on a $3,500 Ty Jerome or a $3,700 Moses Moody. But for right now, if we assume the questionable players are in, I like Poole, I like DiVincenzo, I like Green, and then if Kuminga's starting, I'm interested in him as well.
All right, let's move on to the final game. A bunch of moving parts on this one. So for this is a back-to-back, feels like deja vu because we just saw this game last night. Denver is 1.5 point favorites. I think earlier it was 2.5. Yesterday they were 3.5 point favorites. So I'm wondering if that means Sabonis potentially could be trending in. Who knows? The other thing that was interesting is though they were favored, it took Denver until the back half of the fourth quarter to really end up putting away Sacramento. And even then it was touch and go. Sabonis he's a lefty. He's dealing with some sort of thumb injury. I've seen torn cartilage and a thumb or a fractured cartilage. So I don't exactly know what that means, but it is on his non-shooting hand. He did bang up his shooting hand about 10 days ago as well. So unfortunate, but we'll have to see if he's in. Yay. If he's out, well, we'll let Adam talk about that a little bit because there's a cast of thousands that will replace him. On the Denver side, this is a back-to-back. So Aaron Gordon missed the last game with a sore foot. He is at risk tonight. Jamal Murray may not play in the back-to-back because they're still worried about his conditioning and health after missing last year. And then Michael Porter, not on the injury report, but it is a back-to-back for him as well. And he's missed a lot of time for injury, so he is still at risk of not playing tonight. And then Bruce Brown, the stalwart, he's dealing with a sore ankle. So he is questionable. Take us through the Kings, then hit on the Nugs, and we'll move on out of here, Adam.
Yeah, so if you're playing this slate, not going to be around the late swap, good luck because you probably need to be around the late swap. For the Nuggets, you have Murray questionable, Gordon questionable, Brown questionable. They all matter. Like if they're in, Jamal Murray looks good. He's been playing huge minutes. This is the second half of a back-to-back. He hasn't played a back-to-back this year. My guess is that he sits, but also like they could have ruled him out at any point today, so I don't know. If he's in, he looks good. If he's out, then you should get Bruce Brown in the starting lineup, but Bruce Brown got hurt yesterday and he's questionable today. If Bruce Brown is also out, you probably get Ish Smith, maybe, but it could be others as well. It could be Highland. They could just go to like Christian Brown or something. But if both Bruce Brown and Murray are out, Bones Highland starts to look better. Ish Smith starts to look better, assuming he'd be in the rotation. If Aaron Gordon is out also, that's just more minutes that need to be eaten. Zeke Naji got the start yesterday, fouled out in 15 minutes. He's not a great fantasy option. Even if he does start, he is center only, but he is 3K, so, maybe some value there. Still not something I'd be too excited about. But also, as you start ruling guys out, particularly with Murray and Gordon, you're talking more production for Nikola Jokic. You're talking more production for Michael Porter Jr. Jokic looks great no matter what, just looks better as you start taking guys away. He wasn't really aggressive yesterday. You kind of just randomly see that from Jokic from time to time. He just, looks to get guys involved more, doesn't shoot as much. It's really annoying from a fantasy standpoint, but he is what he is. Like, he's a massive ceiling guy in a good spot against Sacramento. Certainly still a very, very good play here, right up there with Giannis as far as top options. He's pulling 30.5% ownership on DraftKings, and I totally get it. The rest of this team, you kind of just have to wait and see what's available. For the Kings side, it's kind of similar. De'Aaron Fox looks good at 8,600, whether Sabonis is in or out. If Sabonis is out, you don't really get a change in usage for Fox, but you do get a bump in his assist percentage. His per minute production goes up a bit without Sabonis. So he would look, marginally better if Sabonis is out. If Sabonis is in, he's great. I don't know how much this hand injury is going to affect him. Obviously, that's very difficult to quantify. If he's out, we got Alex Len starting last night. Rashawn Holmes came off the bench. He played a few more minutes than Len. You also got some some center minutes from Trey Lyles, including the closing minutes. He's a $3,300 power forward, and he becomes interesting if Sabonis is out, because if Sabonis is in, you're probably getting around 12 minutes from Lyles. But yesterday you got about 24, and if they're going to use him sort of as that third center, and you can expect 20 to 24 minutes from Lyles, it does make him look like a pretty interesting value.
All right. This is a shout out here to Dan Kelly. He's describing the thumb injury. An avulsion fracture occurs when a small chunk of bone attached to a tendon or ligament gets pulled away from the main part of the bone. That sounds like less than pleasant. That's pain. They said it's a pain management issue. Yikes. So the bone has fractured from the other part of the bone, the tendon and the ligament still attached. Interesting there. Interesting. And then, yes, it's Nikola Jovic, not Nikola Jokic, that just popped up on the injury report. That would be the Miami version with that, the swap meet Louis Vuitton version. Shout out to Sir Mix-a-Lot. Shout out to Adam. Shout out to No House Advantage. Shout out to BetMGM. Shout out to Bet Pro. Greg and Eric are going to talk about that. That's the newest Stokastic offering. They're coming up next. Pardon?
LeBron is in.
LeBron is in. The world is safe. Oh, you know why? Because he used to play in Miami and he wants to show out, Adam. He wants to show out. This is the only reason he's playing tonight. With that, we're going to hand things over to the deeper dive. Good luck, gamers. And let's go, Brandon.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody landing on the Stokastic Hall of Fame this week, and we got some big ones. You want to get involved? We got you. You want to get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, $120 value? You want to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, have us do all the bragging for you and see your name in bright lights? We got you. Just go to stokastic.com/avatar. Download the profile pic at stokastic.com/avatar and use it wherever it is you play. DraftKings, FanDuel, doesn't matter. When you win, finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Doesn't matter how much or how little. Just meet those qualifications and you tweet at Stokastic HOF. You're getting the free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum and you're getting in right here inducted into the Hall of Fame. We kick it off in a big way with Short Gamer TV. Merry Christmas to me at Stokastic Hall of Fame. Monster $100,000 win there. Little showdown action between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Las Vegas Raiders. Our biggest one of the week. Congrats to you, Short Gamer TV. And then our own Jake Hari had Lane Peterson crossed off in my crunches yesterday until Slim Cliffy, great NHL analyst, you should pay attention to what he does, made me rethink it on the NHL show. Instead, I included him and it worked out at 0.77 ownership. Little 5K first place win for Jake there. And Kevin Cutler. Let's see my name in lights. They're in it, fella. Laffy D, best tools in the trade by far. First out of 397,000. Makes the Eagles' loss easier to swallow. I get. For you, it does. Not for me, but congrats, Kevin. That's an awesome win out of a massive field. And Jansen White had my best finish ever in a 150 max tonight. Stokastic Hall of Fame. Thanks for constantly helping me improve how I play. And he mentions all the NBA boys. 125 to Jansen White right there in a 150 max. Followed up by TWA 4CY? Twafercy? I don't know. Thanks for all you guys do day in and day out with a $400 victory there. We'll keep it going to Shelly B. 500, only second day using Fantasy Cruncher. I knew I was going to lose or break even on the small tournaments like I usually do. Then I see that I'm first place in the tournament. Like, what? Thank you. Congrats, Shelly. That's awesome. Nice to find a little surprise like that. And then free month of Stokastic Plus for first place win courtesy of Stokastic Hall of Fame. Yes, please. Thanks to Greg and Eric, even though supposedly he's off Twitter now for a short time. Spencer getting the win there, getting the free month as well, and got my first NBA takedown in the $5 single entry last night. Listen to you guys daily. Thank you. Who is that? Rocksteady247 with the $500 win there. And we close it out with two more here. We got Michael Urban. Thanks to the Stokastic fam for all the great content. Not sure this qualifies me for the free month, but wanted to say thanks either way. Keep up the great work, gang. Congrats, Michael. A little $550 win there. And Diesel, OZB. Forgot to post this, but hit this on Thursday night. Forgot about, or how about that free month? little 750 in the 10K Thursday NBA shot. Congratulations to all of you guys. Remember, Stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame if you're rocking the avatar. Get the free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Get up here.
Yeah, yesterday was boring. Let's have more fun. This music sucks, by the way. What? It does. It's awful.
What's going on? I'm sure everybody's very amped up after that music that was just playing in the interlude.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was either.
I feel like we're at like a BDSM club. Like that's the music that plays as you walk through the front door. Put on the chains and the whips, and yeah.
Is that the kind of music that plays? I wouldn't know. You tell me about it. Is that the music?
Just like a little. Just I don't know. It wasn't very good. Jordan Klein, get back in the lab. We need you.
Do they let you off the leash at any point?
No, definitely not.
All right.
Put on a gag and call it a day.
Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are sponsored by No House Advantage today. If you guys haven't signed up at No House Advantage, we'll be talking more about them later, but also really easy to sign up. You just click on the link we have below. That's going to get you up to a $50 bonus on your first deposit. And in addition to that, you get access to the props you can play against the house. Now, Eric, I just want to get into this because EMac, believe it or not, went a little bit long. So we're actually starting 12 minutes late.
No.
Yeah, he did. He went a little bit long. Our friend EMac, who's going to be the next president of the United States of America. And in the time that we were waiting for him to get off, I was really surprised that LeBron James is ruled in because I was fairly sure that he was not going to play. They kind of hinted at it last night in the post-game press conference. That LeBron James uncertain to play today. LeBron said he didn't know if he was going to play. Usually it's an indication of rest. Not the case. He is going to be in. So nothing that really changes massively for that. But players that are currently questionable: Domantas Sabonis, Trae Young, Jamal Murray, Donte DiVincenzo, Draymond Green, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Aaron Gordon, Kyle Anderson, just to name a few of these. Which injuries are going to be most important for us today?
Well, yeah, the Hawks could have absolutely nobody. And then later on, you could have absolutely nobody from Golden State. There could be nobody from both situations. You also have Jimmy Butler against the fastest paced team in the NBA. And I mean, there's just so many ways that this could break. The LeBron James news being in, I will say the one thing that I talked about last night over on the Odd Shopper channel for the video I do breaking everything down, Lindy's leans, likes, and locks, I was pretty sure that because of the blowout, because they ran Orlando out of the gym, no starter playing over 31 minutes. I mean, LeBron James is a professional athlete, even at 38 years of age. I mean, he spends $2 million, they say, a year on his body every single year. Yeah. He's done crazy workouts and insane stuff his entire career. There's nobody more suited to be able to play a back-to-back here. He played Orlando. It was kind of rec league basketball. It looked like in a couple of spots yesterday. Russell Westbrook looked really, really good. I think it was going to be full systems go on that side. Now, I wasn't smart enough to put a bet out there, mainly because I was pretty sure Jimmy Butler was also going to play. This back and forth we've had with him has been very, very frustrating. So we'll wait on that news. We'll kind of see, but it says he's available for Wednesday's game. We'll probably be waiting now specifically on that Golden State situation. Just, I mean, late swap, going to be a lot of fun tonight.
It's tough because there are a bunch of spots where I just really... I really don't have a good read on Sabonis. These Hawks guys, there's so many of them that are questionable. I don't really have a good sense for which of them are going to be in or which one are going to be out. Jamal Murray, another guy. I was pretty sure that Jamal Murray was going to be resting today. He hasn't played in a back-to-back all year. And just waiting, no news came out. And then he just gets listed as questionable. So that kind of makes it uncertain. The Warriors guys, I tend to think they're probably more likely to sit than not. So do you have any strong leans on players that are going to potentially be sitting when it comes to the Warriors or the Nuggets?
Yeah, I think Draymond Green ends up sitting. I would be very surprised if he ended up playing. I think Donte DiVincenzo sits. Steve Kerr is impossible to get a gauge on what happens in some of these spots, but I think just Klay Thompson being ruled out earlier, you still have no Steph and Andrew Wiggins. And they've had some success just saying, hey, Jordan Poole, go try to win a basketball game for us at times, like over the course of the last 2 years. And on these back-to-backs, that's kind of what he goes out and does. He just has an insane amount of usage. As of right now, he's one of my favorite tournament plays at his current ownership. I expect that would come up if we got any news before lock. And, if it's an hour before that game tips off, there's not a whole lot of swappability you really have access to, or even 2 hours beforehand. But I think Jordan Poole really stands out for me. Jonathan Kuminga really stands out for me. Kind of just assuming that they're going to get some opportunity. Even Moses Moody, Ty Jerome, the guy who asked us about Ty Jerome yesterday. I do think they could be down pretty much their entire starting five from last year. Kevon Looney, I think, has that streak going, that weird thing that you brought up a couple weeks ago on the shows where he's had however many streaks of games that he's played in a row. This is a spot where he could legitimately play 4 minutes. He could come out and play the first quarter and then be done for the game. And you have all of the backup guys there. So lots of things that have happened with Kerr that we got to kind of put into context.
Yeah, so that was a game back-to-back that you're referencing, November 20th to November 21st.
You called that too.
The Warriors rested everybody in that game but Looney. And then what ends up happening is Looney starts, he plays one rotation, comes out of the game, never checks back in, just to keep his dumb streak alive that nobody gives a shit about except for him and the Warriors for some reason. So yeah, they played him on the tail end of a back-to-back for him to only play 5 minutes. If we see everybody ruled out, like you mentioned before, if DiVincenzo is out, Draymond Green is out, even if Looney starts, nearly impossible to project him to play big minutes. What I think would become really interesting in that scenario, and I hate to do it because he's not a player I like.
Wait for
James Wiseman.
Yeah, there it is. I was waiting for it.
I mean, he's cheap on FanDuel and DraftKings. People are not going to play him if he doesn't start, and he would be very live. Alex Caruso just ruled out, by the way. He'd be very, very live to end up playing the bulk of the center minutes in that kind of scenario.
Yeah, it's going to be him and Anthony Lamb. Let's buckle up, children. It's going to be a wild ride there in Golden State tonight.
So now with everything in mind that we've just said, and we have some super chats that we'll get to in a second and start answering those. If you guys have questions in Discord at me, and we'll start hitting on those as well. What does make this really hard is I don't really know who I'm going to end up playing today. I have, there's some guys I have a sense I'm going to get to, but there's so many injuries that it's really hard to say definitively I'm going to play this. Like, I know I'm going to play Giannis. I know I'm going to play Pat Connaughton today. But there are other players who I think could be really good values, such as from the Hawks, and I just don't know who those guys are going to be until we get a little bit more injury information. So we always do this exercise at the top of these shows when it's, biggish slates, a lot of players that are questionable. How are you going to handle the Orlando-Detroit game and the Phoenix-Washington game at the start of the slate when it stands to reason we're probably not going to have a lot of injury news at that point?
Yeah, so I always go team by team when I'm kind of setting up everything in Cruncher and doing some other stuff where I kind of toy around with it. And I always group it based on projected ownership. Killian Hayes, Alec Burks, those are kind of your main two from the Detroit side that make a lot of sense. Detroit in general, getting a lot of ownership in this early window. And I think it makes sense. Just another thing I talked about last night for our guy, Bojan Bogdanovic in the prop street. I'm actually kind of putting some of that exposure towards Jaden Ivey today in the props, but a little bit less so in DFS. We've seen that usage rate start to climb up for him, but how many times do we see Detroit in a game where it's like a 1-point spread? We never, ever see that. And now if you look on Cruncher, everybody's got a red arrow next to their name, meaning prices are starting to come down to account for a healthier rotation in spots. When Alec Burks came back into the fray, Killian Hayes has been pretty expensive and it's starting to even out a little bit. Bojan's gone up a little bit, but it stayed right in that 6 to 6,200 number pretty much throughout the entire month of December. I think it makes sense that you want to have some Detroit pieces, but I do not want to get crazy with it because, yeah, they're good plays now, but they could be paling in comparison to everything you're looking at from that midnight hammer from the late night hammer. I mean, we're looking at Golden State specifically. That could be a gold mine. I think regardless of what you think about Alex Len or anything from the Sacramento situation from yesterday, there are phenomenal game environments still for that late night hammer like we had yesterday. So you can still get exposure to certain pieces there. Now without Bruce Brown in the mix there for Denver, I think that they become a little bit more appealing if you have to get stuck with something and Golden State plays everybody, such as like you still have Klay Thompson out there and you still have a good spend up option there in Jordan Poole. So I'm going to be backloading my lineups per usual. Late swap, still one of the best edges left. We want to be very, very careful about how much Detroit we get to.
Yeah, and by the way, so I have lineups built out for both DraftKings and FanDuel, but I'm primarily playing on FanDuel today. I really like the $5 contest that they have, where it was $5, 150 max, and only it was like 22% of the prize pool the first place. So that is my favorite tournament across FanDuel and DraftKings today. That's primarily where I'm going to be having my action. And when I just run my lineups without any kind of adjustments in Fantasy Cruncher, I get to a shit ton of players from the Pistons. And I haven't really changed anything yet because I'm waiting for more news to come out. I'm going to be giving a bunch of these guys thumbs downs in Fantasy Cruncher, so I'm not getting to them in like 30% of my lineups because I think they are fantastic plays, considering if everybody who's in the projections was to stay in. But that's not going to be the case. Some of these guys are going to get ruled out, and I don't want to end up having, 30% of Killian Hayes. I don't want to have 25% of Jaden Ivey. I don't want to have 22% of Jalen Duren as I'm looking at my lineups right now. So I'm waiting for a little bit more news to come out, but as we get closer to lock, I'm going to be rerunning lineups and giving some guys thumbs down in Fantasy Cruncher.
I want to say one more thing about that too, because I think it's important to keep in mind. You want to get some exposure to Detroit. You're saying that, not saying I think Detroit are bad plays. It's just that we want to have more of our plays, more of our lineups geared towards the late swap. Like, I find it very unlikely that a piece from Detroit doesn't go off. Like, at their current prices, there's going to be somebody. I like Jalen Duren more than I like anybody else in that game for DFS purposes. And he's at the center spot. And we talked about James Wiseman. I really, really like that. And Nikola Jokic is there. So there's a positional aspect, but like, I think, it makes it a little bit easier for me to look at Detroit and say, same thing you did, where I don't want to have as much exposure, but it's not just a blatant, like, I don't want to play them.
Yeah, it's like, so what I was saying, though, just to summarize, I think as things stand right now, they look like great plays, points per dollar. I just am fairly confident we're going to get better plays that are going to open up later. We just don't know exactly who those guys are going to be. And hopefully we get some of that news that comes out as we go. Does Alex Caruso being ruled out do anything for you?
No, I mean, it's a little bit of a bump for Ayo Dosunmu, but that kind of sucks. Kobe White is dust, but he will come out at times and go out and go 4 for 8 from 3 like we saw last time out and pay off a tag. But it's really not a spot where I want to get any kind of meaningful exposure.
Let's start hitting on some of these super chats and the questions that have come into the Discord channel. By the way, if you guys want access to the Discord channel and all the other things we have at stokastic.com, you could check it out for 3 days for free by clicking on the link that we have below. And there you're going to get access to our player projections, ownership projections, and everything you need to build winning DFS lineups. First super chat from H, mixing it up early. Greg and Eric, which of you can do more push-ups? That is absolutely me.
Absolutely me. I could do 100 right now.
I'm not going to make you do it, but number one, I think we could make okay. Trae Young is ruled out. This is more important.
That's why I was going to say, I saw that it was going to it was about to get heavy there, and we're going to have a fitness competition or something. If you want to train for a triathlon, I'm going to do a triathlon at the end of May up in Mammoth. Come on out for it. We'll do some push-ups on the side.
I'm not going to do a triathlon, but I'll do a push-up competition against you. I will do push-ups for sure. All right, so let's hit on Trae Young being ruled out. This is even more important than anything else we have going on.
Didn't say 100 in a row. I just said I could do 100. If you gave me an hour, I could do 100 push-ups.
Oh, I could do 100 in a row.
Oh, you could do 100 in a row? Okay, then you
do
win.
That every morning.
I lose.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gary Player. Do you understand that reference?
I assume he probably does 100 push-ups every morning.
He does 100 push-ups every morning.
Okay, there. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know it, but I was able to figure it out based on context clues.
Okay, I'm taking Greg then. I rescind my bet. I'm 200 pounds. You're what? You have less to push up.
Yes, this is very true.
Yeah, there's that.
All right, so Trae Young being ruled out is what's still annoying about this, though, is that we don't have the updated information on Bogdanovic. It's a massive pain in the ass to update Atlanta right now and then find that Bogdan is out 15 minutes from now to re-update it again.
Yeah, it's going to be annoying.
At least for right now, with Trae Young being out, I think we could say this definitively. DeJounte Murray, much, much stronger option than he otherwise was.
Yeah, I mean, DeJounte Murray, it just looks pretty darn good. AJ Griffin kind of enters the conversation, assuming that he's going to get some more minutes. He has to without DeAndre Hunter there as well. So yeah, no Capella, no Hunter, no Young. You're going to be looking at Atlanta. I will say this game is going to get wonky. I might have a wonky Frank Kaminsky shot or two that might exist there. I don't know if we need to, depending on how everything pans out from Golden State, but I'm assuming we won't know everything from Golden State by the time that game tips off. I might have a little bit of exposure going there and play some blowout narrative, but I can't imagine Aaron Holiday at 3,100 shows up in lineups anyway. I can't imagine anything, but like John Collins, I already really liked him. He was my highest owned player from yesterday. That worked out very, very nicely. I like to see the usage get back up there around 28%. Basically laid out the entire case for him yesterday where I said, I expect the usage to trend up. And when it does, he's going to smash. It just happened to be yesterday and he was popular. It was a little unfortunate. He's popular again, but he's going to be one of my highest owned players once more.
By the way, EMac, anatomically speaking, third leg Greg would have the advantage doing push-ups.
Yeah. Boing, boing, boing. A little bit of that.
If only.
That
sounds
only.
extremely painful.
It does. That I will say. Well, no, that's a conversation for a different day. I'm locked in according to some people in chat, so I must stay on my game. It must be. Oh, can I tell you a quick story? This is really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what to expect now. But
all right. So I hadn't grocery shopped the entire year. Like that, my wife goes in grocery shops. I'm terrible. I hate grocery stores, but I actually went grocery shopping on Christmas Day because I needed to pick up champagne. And I bought like a bunch of other stuff. And I bought this coffee, like this Stumptown coffee, because I'm like, oh, I really like this stuff. And they had this glass bottle and whatever else. And the last couple of days, I'd been feeling very, very nauseous and really, really energized and like little bit too much wired, like too wired or whatever. And so I was looking at the Stumptown because that's really the only thing that I haven't had in my diet that I just added to it. It's concentrate, and you're supposed to mix it with half water. I had been injecting myself with pure coffee extract for the last 2 days and had been just sick to my stomach, bad things coming out, just completely sick beyond belief because you're supposed to mix this with water, not drinking it by itself. So good talk. Glad we had it.
I hope you shit your pants during this show.
I did. I almost did yesterday. Not going to lie.
That would be fun. That would be a good mix up to the show.
It was the most pain and suffering I'd ever felt yesterday in the middle of the show. At one point I was, oh God, what in the world? I had my little tea thing and my little coffee, and sure enough, there it was. Whew.
I'm, by the way, while you were telling the story there, I started rerunning lineups for the Hawks stuff, which as expected, I'm going to get to a shit ton of DeJounte Murray. I'm just assuming Bogdanovich is in for now, and I hope he plays. That would just be so much simpler. They are such good options right now. DeJounte Murray, Bogdanovich. So I'm fairly sure my 4 most rostered players when this crunch is done running, it's going to be Giannis, Pat Connaughton, Bogdanovich, DeJounte Murray. Do you have any qualms about that? Any issues?
None. How would I? What would be my pushback? They're the best plays.
I don't know. Maybe you had a difference of opinion.
No, I don't.
All right.
Somebody has to shoot the basketball for Atlanta, right? Somebody has to shoot the basketball at a lot of places, and it just makes sense to get to lots of those guys.
Denny Avdi is playing Wednesday, but will be somewhat limited on the back-to-back. Wes Unseld says.
How is Porzingis playing in this game, by the way? He like dinged up his leg and his knee yesterday, came back in, finished out the game.
But it was just like knee-to-knee contact. He like
okay.
Somebody. It wasn't a big deal.
All right, good.
So there was one thing also is, so people report, I was watching the game when it happened. People were like, oh, him to the locker room. He didn't actually go to the locker room. He went into the tunnel to walk it off. He came out of the game and banged knees with somebody and just kind of walked around a little bit and then came back. So it wasn't something that was massively concerning.
Gotcha. I did not watch any of that game yesterday. There were a lot of other games that took priority. Actually, no. The heartbreak of yesterday was Bradley Beal, hamstring injury. He had 17 points at halftime, took the over of 22.5, and he literally falls short of it. Scored 2 points in the whole second half.
I would say it was Pokashevsky just instantly ruined the majority of my lineups.
Jordan Klein. Why? If you had done it yesterday, we got over 1,000 likes because people like my rapping. You know, I'm a hip hop-potamus. My lyrics are bottomless.
Yeah, that's why we got 1,000 likes yesterday. Not because people want to see you embarrass yourself, which you do on your own regularly, but it was your rapping was the reason all the likes came in. It was good. It was good.
Thank you.
All right. There he is. He's taking his diarrhea juice right now. The Claw 28, best utility on DK, $6,900 and under.
Nice.
Right. 6,900 and under.
Oh, I'm playing both sides today too, by the way. Thought I would throw
Nice.
that in there.
Nice.
I'm an adult.
$6,900 and under. So the answer for me is Bogdanovich. Now I know that he's priced quite a bit under 6,900, but actually I was looking at. It's so annoying when both the Bogdanovichs are on the same site. But either way, yeah, 6,300 for Bogdanovich. Assuming that he is in today, that's my favorite guy, 6,900 and under.
Agreed.
The next super chat that we have is from Skip S. Struggling to set up lineups for late swap advice. Yeah, make sure you don't have too much exposure to the early games. Make sure you give yourself as much flexibility as possible. If you're playing on DraftKings, make sure the players that are starting in the later games are in the utility guard forward spot. You don't want to have somebody in the utility spot that's playing in the first or second game of the day because you're just limiting the amount of ability for you to late swap your lineup. So those are the two things I would say. Limit your exposure to the early games. And then in addition to that, make sure your players in the later starting times are in the guard forward utility spots on DraftKings. If you're playing on FanDuel, that doesn't apply as much, but just try to limit your exposure to the early game.
Agreed. And also, I like to do it where I'll build out the news breaking different ways for the late teams. So Golden State, I like to kind of see what effect that would have on my lineup. So if you don't have Dante DiVincenzo and you don't have Draymond Green in, how does that change my lineups and who am I getting a lot to? And then what are the sacrifices that have to be made to get there? And how would it affect my exposure to the early games? So like, if you have both of them out, James Wiseman becomes somebody that I go from having almost zero interest in to having as my highest owned player on the slate at 4K. Him and Jordan Poole, I'm looking at FanDuel right now. 7,600 Jordan Poole is like the best play on the slate no matter what. Jonathan Kuminga, he's 64% owned.
Kyle Lowry is out tonight.
Joy.
So Kyle Lowry is out, so that was not expected. And that is
came out of nowhere. It says Kyle Anderson. That's Minnesota.
I thought I saw Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Anderson.
Did Kyle Lowry not just get ruled out?
I don't think so. Yes, he did. Sure did. It just came through on my end.
Yeah. All right. I'm just from the.
You're just ahead of me. You're ahead of you're ahead of your times. I just saw Kyle Anderson's name go through on my little ticker because I have Twitter and YouTube set up on the iPad, and so that's cool. Both Kyles out. Good to know. Bad day for Kyles.
Kyle Lowry one much more significant. Kyle Anderson has been out for 2 weeks now, and the pricing is caught up at this point. Kyle Lowry. Here's at least the good thing with this. There's been so many guys who are out for the Heat, and I don't think this is going to be something that changes a whole lot. Other than that, I had some exposure to Kyle Lowry that I'm going to no longer have. But it's not like all of a sudden, Tyler Hero becomes a must play or Jimmy Butler or anything. Like, these guys are already pretty expensive. It's just, is there anything that does open up that we weren't considering on the lower end from the Heat?
Yeah, Gabe Vincent is the first place my brain goes, mainly because of last year during the playoffs. You had Kyle Lowry that was hurt on and off at times, and he got a lot of those spot starts against Philly and Boston. Given he's been limited and hurt himself, so I don't know what that minutes allotment could look like. He played 18, though, against Minnesota. Pretty high usage off the bench, 25.6% there. So he's all of one game back. I'm worried that even if he starts, maybe he doesn't play more than 24 minutes, and that's kind of problematic, but he's 3,100, so at least that shot makes some sense going that direction. You could play Tyler Hero, Butler, Adebayo. I mean, they're so expensive. It's just so hard to get to any of those three on this slate. I have like 1% of any of these guys on either site. Let's go to Oladipo. It doesn't really make sense. 5,500 over on DK. I can't really land there. I think about the only thing that changes, I'll probably get a little bit of Gabe Vincent if nobody goes there.
Yeah. I would like to see the starting lineup here. I'm also not exactly sure what they're going to do, because you mentioned Gabe Vincent had missed a whole bunch of time, came back last game, played 17 and a half minutes. It's hard for me to think he plays too much more than, say, 20. But if he starts, that would be totally different, because if he starts, it would be a pretty good indication that they feel better about his minutes. So would like to see the starting lineup there.
I'm guessing Oladipo starts, if I had to guess.
I would guess. Let me see. What was the starting lineup? So this is.
I almost don't want Gabe Vincent to start. to have any exposure. Because if he starts, he'll get exposure, and then it's risky twice because he'll be popular and he's 3,100. People will see that and be like, oh, I can play Gabe Vincent. I can play him at shooting guard, yada, yada, yada. If he's starting, you could still have those same limitations. Whereas if he comes off the bench, he could have some usage like we saw in that last game here, and he won't be owned at all. So I hope he comes off the bench.
For me personally, if he comes off the bench, I just assume it means he's on like a 20 minutes cap or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, for DraftKings, he's so cheap that you could still make a case for him, but not as much on FanDuel.
Agreed. That's 100% true.
We got a follow-up super chat from H. Solution to the push-up question is a Stokastian Olympics streamed with live betting available. Eric, the Midwestern Maestro versus Craig, the Hebrew Hercules. Oh, we've got nicknames and everything. I like it.
Oh my God, the Hebrew Hercules?
Hebrew Hercules.
How did you know he was Jewish? That's unbelievable. What a leap of faith.
Guessing. People keep guessing, and I just don't know what the tells are. It's stunning to me that people are this observant.
I don't know, but perhaps my favorite thing that's ever happened on a Zoom call that we've because we'll hang out a little bit after the shows once in a while, because believe it or not, we don't completely hate each other, which is shocking. I should hate you at this point in time, but hearing your dad, Scuba as he's lovingly nicknamed, list off the 9 people he considered his friends, and you trying to guess which 9 they were. Yeah,
last night after the show, I got actually my sister tried to call me during the show. And then talking to my family afterwards, and they made a list of all of my dad's friends, and my dad wanted me to guess them. And it was he'd forgotten most of his friends that I guessed. He was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about him. He should have been on the list." So that was us after the post-lock show last night. I did end up getting all of them, by the way.
Congrats! It's important.
Avi Schreier wants to know Fultz or Bogdan on FanDuel, assuming he plays Bogdan.
Yeah, Bogdan.
Aiden Queskin, how does the unicorn look today? He's actually my favorite player from the early games on FanDuel.
Really?
DraftKings, it's hard to get to him just because he's only center eligible. But at least for FanDuel purposes, where he has power forward and center eligibility, and he's only 9K, I think he's pretty solid looking on FanDuel with Bradley Beal out. DraftKings, harder to get to though.
Maybe I shouldn't play both sites today is what I'm starting. I tried to update everything because I had some extra time this afternoon, and whatever it was about Porzingis yesterday, I just have him much lower projected than just about everybody, it would seem, and that seems like a bad idea. Like he's got a Jock Landale and DeAndre Ayton combination out there. They are not exactly going to be out on the 3-point line. He should be able to just chuck at will in this spot. No Bradley Beal, 9K, power forward eligibility on FanDuel. I should probably play more of him than I've got.
Yeah, and that's to me what the biggest thing here is, just that there is no Bradley Beal for this team. So if you look at the numbers for Porzingis this year with Beal off the court, 31% usage rate, scores 49 FanDuel points per 36 minutes, 49 DraftKings points per 36 minutes. But once again, DraftKings, he's more expensive than he is on FanDuel. He only has center eligibility. FanDuel, you get the power forward and center eligibility on him there. So he is my favorite player from Orlando, Detroit, Phoenix, Washington. Of those 4 teams that lock at the start of the slate, Porzingis is the one I get the most exposure to.
Josh Baker, also Looney will play 15 minutes tops. Looney is either going to play 28 minutes or he's going to play 5. Like there's not really an in-between.
And by the way, starting lineups, Chris Paul officially starting for the Suns. I thought there was a chance that he would rest today. That is not the case. Jock Landale sticking in the starting lineup, and Corey Kispert is starting in place of Bradley Beal. Do you have any interest in Kispert now that he's confirmed as the starter?
Absolutely not. I have like a firm no Kispert. This isn't college DFS. We don't have to play him on that Gonzaga team where he was still somehow a dude who's like number 3 in the pecking order over there and then ends up a first round pick. Pretty wild stuff from Corey Kispert to land where he did, but just for a guy who sits around the 3-point line and is okay sometimes. The Chris Paul thing kind of matches the LeBron thing, where the blowout really helped. He only had to play 24 minutes. All of those starters from Phoenix just roll it right into Washington, and instead of getting extra on there, maybe it takes a little bit of the ceilings, like the minute ceiling off the table for some of these guys. But I still like Chris Paul a lot on FanDuel, 8,100. And he's pulling under 20% ownership over there. I think that's a shot that I really want to be taking. And then 83 on DK looks about right, but I'm going to definitely get there too.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then as for Kispert, yeah, no interest in playing him. I didn't even know he went to Gonzaga, so I learned that just now. But I don't like him for DFS.
He's one of those guys that could get hot once in a while in college, and you play him in college basketball DFS. The days of yore during COVID when there was like nothing else to do other than play every DFS sport. And so, yeah, Corey Kispert, Jalen Suggs, that team was iconic.
Super chat from Zachary Pinnell. Is it dumb to play Collins, Murray, and Bogdanovich in the $12 single entry on DK? I don't have an issue with that.
No issue at all.
The next question we have is from Eric Adkisson. I have Isaiah Stewart right now, but what forward do you play 4,800 and under? Already have Lyles and Javon Carter instead of Pat Connaughton. So forward for $4,800 or
on
less.
DK?
I would assume, yeah, because there wouldn't be a forward spot on FanDuel.
Got it.
Forward
4,800 or less. I mean, right now, Isaiah Stewart would be pretty good for power forward. He's got that eligibility, but he's pulling 19% ownership. That's probably a little much for me. I think AJ Griffin at 4,300 now is somebody that I just knew I would be getting to. It looks like I'm getting to him quite a bit as I'm updating stuff, and he's just kind of there. But if you're going to be using the full allotment, I think Isaiah Stewart's a fine play.
The answer for me is AJ Griffin. I've been projected better than Isaiah Stewart. So that is the way that I'm going to go with that answer. I think AJ Griffin is a pretty good looking player right now. And then let me refresh our ownership to see where some of these Hawks players are coming in right now. While that page refreshes, the next super chat is from.
He said he has Stewart. Derek, do you listen? No, I was updating my stuff. So yeah, AJ Griffin's the answer. Sorry, my bad. Doing a couple things. Kind of need to update the shit. It seems important.
Johnsy Y. Poole and Conley or DeJounte Murray and Kuminga. This is tough because we don't have all of the information on who's going to be in or out for the Warriors. I'm going to say DeJounte Murray and Kuminga just under the assumption that the Warriors are resting Green and DiVincenzo. And
also DeJounte Murray, I'm not really willing to live without on this slate now.
Fair. The Claw, best shooting guard on DK for $6,400 and under. I'm pretty sure that's Bogdanovich.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Guard
6,400. I mean, DiVincenzo if he plays.
No, but I like Bogdanovich more than DiVincenzo.
Oh, me too. But I'm just saying that that'd be another guy that you could put into the realm. But yeah, it's Bogdanovich by a mile. I have him projected for 36. How many do you have him projected for?
37.
There you go. You win.
If he has a good game, I guess. Do we get all of the super chats? Yeah, that answers the super chats. We got some questions in the Discord channel to answer as well. But before we get to that, we've got a graphic that we've got to put up on the screen right now.
I'm not cranky at all. I was just reacting to the question. I wasn't listening. I am playing both sides today. I'm trying to stay focused for you, so don't get me off my game. Don't kill my vibe.
All right. If Eric isn't cranky now, he will be in a second because BetMGM, if you guys haven't signed up at BetMGM, you could keep these wonderful graphics of Eric in circulation. And just as a little teaser for the future, I may or may not have reached out to our production department to make sure that we have more of these graphics coming in the future. Because I'm like, yeah, this one picture is nice, but we really need better pictures of Eric as well. We need more of them in circulation to show to the people, because this is what makes people really want to sign up at BetMGM by using our link. They are going to get access to this wonderful graphic of Eric, which stays on screen as long as we get people to sign up. But in addition, you're going to get 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum and a risk-free bet of up to $1,000. And look how happy Eric is. Look at the graphic. He's overjoyed that you guys are signing up at BetMGM. And look at him now.
I hope you lose every dollar you put in play tonight, you evil people.
Yeah. So see, look, Eric is so happy about this graphic. And if you guys want to keep him this happy, sign up at BetMGM by clicking on the link we have.
Why do you get a nice thumbs up and I get?
Because when we were doing our photo shoot, that's what I did. And that's what you did. Because that's just what you did. It's not like somebody photoshopped you looking like that. That's what, when other people look at you, Eric, that is what they see. He's thrilled. Sign up at BetMGM. Keep the graphic in circulation so we can keep Eric happy. Do we get any more?
Jordan, I saw that. I saw that. Don't you dare. I will drive down to your place of living.
I have no clue.
I will knock on the door and we will throw down.
I have no clue what you're referring to.
We will throw down in such a fashion. Oh, you're such a piece of shit. God, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Well, Eric's got vendettas with everybody now. We got some questions in the Discord channel. T. Lee wants to know who are our favorite plays for single entry, and then in general also, who are our favorite value plays on this slate? All of the guys on the Hawks. These are going to be my answer for single entry and then also favorite values. Like AJ Griffin is somebody who I like quite a bit. And let's see the ownership update that just came in. So AJ Griffin, I think, is going overlooked right now. He is 19% on DraftKings, 16% owned on FanDuel. He's a guy that I'm overweight to that I like in single entry as a value option. Pat Connaughton, popular, but I also think a really good value option. Giannis, I think, is the best pay up option. But then in the mid-range, Bogdanovic, if he ends up playing. And by the way, we might even get reduced ownership on Bogdanovic if that news doesn't come out in the next 15 minutes. And then DeJounte Murray as well. That really sums up my favorite plays at the moment.
Great job.
The next question we have here is from Swaz. Do you guys like Naz Reid tonight with slow-mo out? How about Duren? The issue I have with Duren is just he's in the first game of the night, and I want to give myself flexibility. I don't think he's bad on a points per dollar basis. I just prefer other guys in the flexibility, and I'm not playing Naz Reid today.
I am.
You're playing Naz Reid?
Oh, yeah.
And
very much so.
Like a lot of Naz Reid, a little bit of Naz Reid.
Let me pull it up here for you because I know I've been going back and forth on what's going to happen against the Pelicans here quite a bit. I truly think you might have seen it. I wasn't confident enough. Last night on my video, I talked about the under 14.5 points, but look at what happened last game. And it was something that I think Naz Reid has outperformed Rudy Gobert from an offensive perspective. And on FanDuel, you don't have to think about this. Naz Reid is 6,100. I'm not going to be doing that in any way, shape, or form. But in the event that Naz Reid is going to start closing basketball games out of the middle of nowhere, he played 29 minutes. He has ran a lot of this second unit at times. He can step out and knock down a three. He's pretty efficient in that regard. And a little bit better defender on the perimeter than a Rudy Gobert. And against a team that might go to Larry Nance, Zion Williamson in that front court to close, now that you have both of them back, I think there's a chance Naz Reid closes this basketball game. And at 4,700, I'm willing to take that because of his fantasy point per minute rate. 1.2, offensively inclined. I got to think he's going to be playing 25 minutes plus like we've seen the last two games with Gobert there. I feel all right at a secure, like I'm projecting him for more minutes than I've ever projected for alongside Rudy Gobert. I've got him in for 25 at the moment. I think at Stokastic, we have him around 27. I think that might be a tad bit high, but the range of outcomes is wide where he could directly back up Gobert and you're probably in a lot of trouble. But at 4,700, because of the fantasy point per minute rate and how big of a smash he is with Gobert off the floor this season, if he's going to be playing 28, 30 minutes, I think you're going to need him. So Naz Reid on DraftKings, where you can play two centers, I think he's in play, and that's a wild thing to say about him. I know he's pulling ownership, but I think it's warranted.
What are his, when he's sharing the court with Rudy Gobert, what does his fantasy production look like?
I'll pull that up here as well, because I projected him right around 1.15 as a baseline for 26. I just took it down inherently, mentally, just thinking about it, because
so that would be
most
my concern,
of the time they won't be sharing the floor, but the fact that they can share the floor brings the minutes up at least, and that makes me feel pretty good. Over the course of this season on DraftKings, alongside Rudy Gobert, just went off. Come on. Rudy Gobert, Naz, boom. Both of them on the floor together. Query, go, running. There you go. You've got Naz Reid at 0.94, and you've got Gobert who takes the hit, 0.76. That's in a very, very small sample size of 110 minutes, but hey, that's telling you Naz is getting the better of Rudy Gobert on the floor. And I think that makes sense because Naz Reid is a better offensive player, period, full stop, just is what it is. Defensively, we know the narratives about Rudy Gobert. I've been as frustrated as anybody as a Minnesota fan, but I think just what we saw last game, I think in certain matchups, you've got to look at some of the opposing front courts. We can predict with pretty virtual certainty that Zion Williamson and Larry Nance Jr. are going to be closing this basketball game together, because that's what the Pelicans have done all season long. I think that really brings Naz Reid into play.
Yeah, so I think certainly you can make more of a case for it on DraftKings than you can on FanDuel.
Correct.
I think ultimately they're not going to play a ton of minutes together, and there's going to be so many good value options that end up opening up later on in the day that I just find it unlikely that by the time we get, a Hawks starting lineup and whatnot, that he'd be somebody that I actually want to be invested in relative to the other options. But maybe I'm wrong. They just play a bunch of minutes together, and Naz Reid does play, 26, 27 minutes.
My thing too is Naz Reid's looked awesome. Like, he's been the bright spot of this 3-game skid for the Timberwolves, and he was awesome in relief in those starts. Other than the one injury he had in the middle of Gobert being out, he went for 50 in both of those other 2 starts, played a lot of minutes. And then we've just seen him outplay Rudy Gobert, and I don't know what to say about that. It just is what it is. And offensively, there's no doubt he stretches the floor more than Rudy Gobert. And this team has always had the Karl Anthony Towns outside shooting presence that's helped open up lanes for Anthony Edwards, hasn't kept the lane as clogged, but you can play off Rudy Gobert defensively and help onto Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell. We've seen it time and time again with these Minnesota games. It is so frustrating. But when Naz is out there, the offense is so much more functional. It just seems like everybody's getting wide open shots, and Bogdanovic available to play, very important.
Yes. All right. So I don't have to change anything because I had already done that, assuming that was going to be the case. One of my most rostered players, I love getting to Bogdanovic. And now because of that, I could upload my lineups. And I'm sure there's going to be a ton of shit that we have to change during the post-lock show, which Eric and I are doing today. So you guys should be sticking around for the 30 minutes after lock, because it's just going to be a continuation, basically live before lock, with players getting ruled out, starting lineups coming out and whatnot. The Claw 28, best utility for 6,400 on DK, but it cannot be Bogdanovic.
That's a caveat. It's a large caveat.
Let's see, 6,400, but can't be Bogdanovic. The answer would have been Bogdanovic for me. That's why he said no.
Totally
He knew that was going to be.
He knew.
And he already has Bogdanovic in his lineup somewhere else. $6,400 and under. That is Ben Simmons for me.
It's Bojan Bogdanovic for me, because of course it is.
The Bogdanovic correlation in the lineup. That's
honestly, it truly takes it to the top. Bogdanovic and Bogdanovic, the law firm.
Bogdanovic and Bogdanovic. Jalen Johnson available to play. That is something that's significant. Do we have the starting lineup yet for the Hawks? We do not.
No, that would be too convenient. And also Kaminsky, 0%. Jalen Johnson available to play. Don't want to do it. Just something that I brought up before because I didn't know if that was going to be the case or not.
Some more super chats. Boy, YouTube chat is so laggy for me today. Oh no, there's no more. We got
laggy. Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Well, it's annoying when I'm trying to answer questions.
Oh,
They don't show
no,
up. I'm trying to help
worst. I
I'm trying to help the
know.
people.
Oh, the horror.
Jets World. If Jamal Murray and Bruce Brown are out, rank DeJounte, Giannis, and Jokic for the DK 888. Giannis won. Well, wait here. Okay, so DeJounte, Giannis, and Jokic. If we're just talking fantasy points, then it would be Giannis, Jokic, Murray. If it's in terms of guys that I'm going to have the most and least exposure to, Murray 1, Giannis 2, Jokic 3. Murray and Giannis much higher priority plays for me than Jokic.
Yes.
Sam Cassell Dance, is Drummond too volatile to play in a single entry? He projects well. I don't think this is a slate where we have to roster Andre Drummond.
Nope. It was intriguing before you got Trae Young out and before you realized that you were going to probably get a lot of Golden State value at center.
And we are still waiting on the Golden State news, which is
Sure are.
going to be something that changes a lot on this slate. Stephen Leibowitz wants to know feelings about Jokic today, or do you need injury news? And if not Jokic, what lower price fives on DraftKings do you like? All right, so he wants to know what centers that we're liking on DraftKings for today. As for Jokic, the problem is that I think Giannis is such a better pay up option for this slate, considering all of the Chris Middleton being out, Drew Holiday being out. that it's hard for me to justify paying up for Jokic as much when I think the opportunity cost is Giannis. So that's the higher priority. But Eric, who are the
Agreed.
centers that you are getting to the most?
Yeah, so it's going to be different site to side. I already talked about Naz Reid. I'm not getting to like a crazy amount, but John Collins, power forward center. I'm in love with him for a second straight day. Went nicely yesterday. I see no reason to be shying away there. One of the few bright spots of yesterday there. You have Kuminga sitting there with power forward center over on DK as well. 5K is not deterring me. I want to get exposure to as many of these Golden State guys as possible. I'm preloading with some James Wiseman as well. But Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best pay up on the slate. He's coming in 50% of lineups on DK. I have him almost 100% right now. I just have money to get there, and I have Atlanta pieces that I can get to. We don't have the value you might have expected for Miami and LA, but I'm assuming we get something from Golden State. And so I'm putting some Ty Jerome in, some Moses Moody in. So those are some cheap pieces that I just have exposure to. I think it could get very, very wonky as the night goes on.
Got a super chat from Abel Ramos. He wants to know any Detroit or Orlando now with all of this news. So over the course of 150 lineups, my most rostered player from that game is 12% of Killian Hayes. But for reference on FanDuel, he's projected for 29% ownership. So I'm well underweight to the field on him. And that is my most rostered player from that game.
Yeah, I have 8% Jalen Duren on DK, which I just finished up, and I'm jumping over to FanDuel. So that is my highest owned piece. And then Bojan Bogdanovic, I've got 6% of. Just those are the only two I'm getting. Everybody else I capped at 5%, and I'm getting to like none of them.
And all right,
I assume I'm going to get to Porzingis for the early session on FanDuel based on what we talked about. But
yeah, he didn't ask about that game,
right?
though,
I
so
just wanted to reiterate it just as we're going in. Yeah, I just wanted to finish that up. But from that game specifically, 8 and 6% highest owned players.
The next question, Lippy, am I a complete donkey if I fade Detroit? No, I think that is totally reasonable, especially if you're playing one lineup and you just want to give yourself flexibility. I wouldn't be playing Detroit.
You're also not a donkey for playing Detroit. I have to make that very clear. Like what we're doing can turn out very, very poorly. But I think over the long run, when you backload your lineups the way that we are, it's better than the opposite.
The next question is from JW. Any love for Jock Landale? I wouldn't say love, especially because once again, you run into the issue where he's going to be taking up a lineup spot. I have him in 6% of my lineups right now, Jock Landale. And once again, it's going to be the same talking point for a lot of these early guys. He is not a bad play. I'm a little concerned how many minutes he's going to play alongside DeAndre Ayton. Started last game, played 24 minutes, but it was also really weird minutes allocations for the Suns in general. Last night, the game was a blowout. Chris Paul got hurt. So a lot of things kind of got thrown into flux, but there's just an opportunity cost with playing some of these early guys. I don't want to play somebody heavily like Jock Landale, who's pretty good, when I think there's a chance to get guys who are going to be, really good looking later.
Super, really, really ridiculously good looking plays.
Exactly. And is Jock Landale somebody you're getting much exposure to?
I think there's a chance for him to play 28 minutes if it weren't going to be a blowout. I think that's in the range of outcomes. Again, I think that would be on the high end, and as a result, I think there's going to be better plays. I legitimately think there could be 4 or 5 Golden State pieces that get the same exact minutes allocation if the news breaks a certain way, and know with greater certainty that it's at a position that is more valuable than like center and using up your center spot early.
The next question is from Sam Gassell Dance. Ever played 5 $3,500 or less players in a lineup? I'm sure like end of season slates on DraftKings where you get like 3 pay up options, studs, and then just there's a bunch of min. Because the end of the year, you get to those spots where it's entire starting lineups of min price players. Yeah,
I think 3 years ago, I had a double tight end lineup, which was Kelsey and Kittle back when they were going back and forth for the tight end record. I played the mini max. I won 10K in NFL, and I left, I think, $3,000 on the table or $4,000 on a main slate lineup. With those two, there was like a punt at quarterback, a lot of stuff like that. In NBA, it's almost impossible because you still, unless it's the very end of the season there, you still get a Giannis that's going to project out well, even in like a limited 26, 28 minutes. You get a Jokic that even if he's limited, they still give them first half, third quarter run as they get down towards the end of the season and figure out what people are playing for. So NBA, almost never going to happen. In NFL, happens a lot.
Beer Dad B, if Draymond and Sabonis are out, Wiseman or Holmes, that would be Wiseman for me.
Yes.
By the way, we are at lock. A lot. That went very quickly. There's a lot that happened very quick. Were you able to get your lineups up in time?
Yeah, I'm double checking FanDuel because I haven't played FanDuel in a long time. All right. Whew, good. I got him. I wasn't sure if I got the right CSV in, and it was actually a little bit of a sweat there.
Yeah. Let's see what ended up happening with some of these lineups.
Markelle Fultz. Shit.
But you end up with like a lot of Markelle Fultz?
Yeah, on FanDuel I did.
Well,
look at you, Dwayne Washington chasers. This was the thing this is the only thing I cared about today. In the $5 on FanDuel. Guess how owned a $3,700 Dwayne Washington who could legitimately play 14 minutes is?
Which, by the way, that's how many minutes I've been projected for is 14.
Oh, there you go. I have him projected for 15, so we're not that far apart, but like this might be the worst play of this season.
So it seems like it's gonna be, is he like 30% on then?
No. Not even close. He's 11% on FanDuel in the $5 coming off of yesterday.
11% is whatever. That's
okay.
Not the what.
I want you to guess what he is on DK in the $15.
30%. I'll guess
19.5%.
Okay.
Y'all are out of your GD minds.
Yeah, it's not worst play of the season is it's
up there. It's up there. This is as point chasey gets.
But the ownership is not, like, we've seen players like that who are in that scenario who've been 40 and 50% on this year.
I know, but legitimately I feel pain. I have 0%. I have legitimately 0% on both sides, don't I? I might have something on FanDuel. I have 0% on DK. That was automatic. On FanDuel, I might have some because 3,700 and I kind of did it a little bit quicker. Let's see. 2%. There you go. Have fun, everybody.
All right. We got to ban somebody. He's the one thing, I don't ban people, right? Eric gets a little trigger happy, kicks people out. I don't care. You guys make fun of me, no big deal. But if people come in and they just say random shit, like players who are out, who are not out,
you got to go.
Then you got to go, right?
Shut your whiny ass mouth, Eric. What did I do? Who unhid that? Who unhid that?
Me. No, because I agreed with him. He made good points. But I wanted to make, because I'm in chat, I'm making sure we kick the guy out who's making up shit about Giannis. By the way, Gabe Vincent is starting for the Miami Heat.
Told you. I hate being right. It sucks. So this is really uncomfortable, guys, because I mean, I think his ownership comes up. This is true for just about every play in the history of DFS, but he's a good play only if he's not popular. He's going to get, I think, popular enough. Like, he was the main highlight that started to show up in lineups. I put him in at 21 minutes. I think I got to put it up to 24 with him starting, and I know he's going to show up a lot. But I think if people get to like the 25% mark on Gabe Vincent, we're in deep shit. And you're really going to regret having him as opposed to a starting Ty Jerome at 3,500 who could legitimately play 30 minutes if there's no DiVincenzo. Like, I really, really prioritized Ty Jerome in that kind of a spot, knowing what the ownerships would be. But it's hard to play that perspective game here. I think the first question, just, do you think he can play more than 24 minutes?
Probably not.
That's what I'm because I've just put him at 24, and we'll have a very uncomfortable, because I'm going to project him right around 19 and a half. I know he's going to be more popular than that. He was a play that I've liked this guy a lot. He's made me money. He was like a really bright spot during that Eastern Conference final spot going up against Boston. This sucks. This is really, really brutal.
Yeah, I'll get to a little bit. He's also way different looking on DraftKings than FanDuel. FanDuel at $4,200, $4,300 point guard shooter. He'll make it into some lineups for me, not anything crazy. DraftKings, I do think he's a strong value play, but not somebody who I'd be like, oh, you need to have 40% of him or anything like that.
We still have 3K people hanging out. It's almost like they've realized how important it is to be here after lock on some of these shows.
Or maybe they just like us.
That's definitely not it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
They might like you.
No, they like Jordan.
They definitely love Jordan. He's cuddly. He's soft.
Yeah, they probably like Jordan.
Yeah. It's nice to partake in things and then end up on a couch as he pets my dog, pets me. It's very fun. It's true.
Excuse me?
Cuddly.
What does he do?
It's cuddly. It's lovely. He nurtures me and makes me feel like a man.
Jordan, how do you feel about this? Did Jordan leave? No, he's still there.
I would leave.
Dude, bro, chill. No, I'm the comment. Never done that.
Eric and Jordan sitting in a tree. Fucking.
By the way, also, because before you and I were talking, and I think we thought there was a chance that Victor Oladipo would start. With Gabe Vincent being a lower usage guy, a little bit of a benefit to Bam Adebayo, a little bit of a benefit to Jimmy Butler, just because it is a guy who's not like a crazy high usage player that's been added into the starting lineup.
Somebody said time to leave after that. Yeah. No, I love Bogdanovich. There's nothing that could get me off Bogdanovich.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying that at all.
What were you saying?
I said that I like Butler and I like Adebayo a little bit more with Gabe Vincent starting as opposed to Victor Oladipo.
Oh, that's not what I was.
Yeah, I don't know how you drew the Bogdanovich
because I had the Atlanta stuff back up and I was looking at that, and then I was also looking at chat. Pause. Yeah, everybody pause. Stop. Take a minute.
Pause. All right, we got some questions in the Discord channel. Who did you end up with as your most rostered players for DraftKings? And I could answer for FanDuel.
Sure. Looking at the point guard position, DeJounte Murray shouldn't surprise anybody. Ty Jerome, number 2. Oh boy, am I going to go down with that ship. That one's going to really, really hurt. Jordan Poole, 3.
Right. I have to do one more update here because I'm getting to more of the Heat guys than I wanted to. So I'm going to dial them back a little bit. But as I'm going through it, my most rostered point guards, DeJounte Murray, Jordan Poole, feel very good about that. Shooting guards.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. So now we have to update shit again because
son of a biscuit.
This starting lineup for the Hawks is something else. I was not expecting this. Now, Bogdanovich is not starting. He started yesterday alongside Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. He was on the injury report before. How concerned are we now?
We're not happy. This is bad. This is very bad. One, you're going to see Bogdanovich come down in ownership. So that's good. If he ends up playing and isn't limited in any way, like we have 22 minutes to make sure, because I'm sure somebody should be asking, hey, is Bogdanovich available to play? And we'll be able to know that. Because he'll come off the bench, and as soon as DeJounte Murray comes off the floor from that first stint, he is going to be chucking at will, and you're going to have no resistance. Like there's no resistance to Bogdanovich as long as he's coming off the bench. I will get to a lot of him still, but my God, is it nerve-wracking? Because if he doesn't, you could be looking at a limited Bogdanovich, and then you would just rather go just about anywhere. Aaron Holiday is so bad from a fantasy point per minute rate. It's painful. He's the identical 3,100 of Gabe Vincent. But what could be the possible minutes here? We've had a couple of starts here where he's played only 19, 25 minutes, and that's what gets really uncomfortable about like an Aaron Holiday type situation here. Vic Krejci, is he with the team?
Yes, he played last night.
He played last night. Just wanted to double check that. He played 4 minutes last night. All right, so I have to project Krejci for more minutes. Coming off the bench.
I don't think you have. He played garbage time. I just knew
Trent Forrest going to play more minutes. I have to take some minutes away from Bogdanovich, and I have to take minutes away
So I'm taking minutes away from Bogdanovich and just giving them to Aaron Holiday. He's going to play minutes.
Sucks. I already had Aaron Holiday in for like 14 minutes. So,
by the way, this also helps DeJounte Murray. This is a much lower usage starting lineup. I already love DeJounte Murray, but this also.
I'm going to have a crazy amount of DeJounte Murray now. I'm not going to shy away from Bogdanovich. So I'm taking him from like 32 to 29 minutes. And he's still going to project out pretty well. He's going to come down a little bit, but that fantasy point per minute rate goes up ever so slightly.
Let's see. Aaron Holiday is not somebody I'm going to really be getting to.
Nope.
I'll probably have a couple lineups. No, I'll probably have a couple lineups with him. I like AJ Griffin a whole bunch though.
Yes, this is a really good thing. Yeah, and small
really,
forward, 4,300 on DK. FanDuel 4,800 is a little uncomfortable, but now you've lost Bogdanovich out of that starting unit. Also a really good thing. And it's not like DeJounte Murray is out there just going to create for himself nonstop. He's going to be creating for other guys. And AJ Griffin's looked pretty good in the limited amount of Hawks basketball I've seen this year.
He's averaging over 30 minutes per game as a starter as well.
Yep. He's solidified in those minutes. I feel really, really good about him. I'd say this starting lineup is probably the biggest beneficiary to DeJounte Murray.
Yeah,
Aaron Holiday is just a dude who shows up. And you absolutely need to get to 3,100, whatever. But like Gabe Vincent, I would rather roll the dice on him because he's not a complete nothing from a fantasy perspective. But then AJ Griffin's probably number 3 in terms of people that it benefits.
Yeah. I mean, also, I just didn't know if AJ Griffin was going to start or not. And now we definitively know that AJ Griffin is starting. So that definitely helps him out.
100% Collins smash spot. Yeah, I already loved John Collins. John Collins hasn't changed. He's still showing up a ton for me.
Right. Rerunning my lineups. I'm still going to have a so Bogdan. I had like 60% Bogdanovich before. That's probably going to come down to like 35% or something. My lineups are still running right now. I took 3 minutes away from him. That makes such a big difference. Murray's my most rostered player. That was already going to be the case.
His ownership's going to come down though, right? Like people are going to come off of him a little bit the same way you just did, and makes me want to kind of stand pat with Bogdanovich.
Well, let's see where his
Bucks lineup is not out yet, by the way. Somebody just asked for that.
Yeah, we have no Bucks starting lineup yet. We
talked through Gabe Vincent.
A ton of news that we're waiting for. So here's all the news that we still need for the slate. We have Domantas Sabonis listed as questionable. Jamal Murray is questionable. Dante DiVincenzo is questionable. Draymond Green is questionable. Aaron Gordon is questionable. Bruce Brown is questionable. So Denver and Golden State, those are the two spots where we could see a whole bunch of value open up and new plays end up popping up. And related to that, Devin Davis left us a super chat. Ty Jerome or Pat Connaughton on DraftKings. I prefer Pat Connaughton.
Over Ty Jerome?
Yes.
I prefer Ty Jerome, but Pat Connaughton is the better play right now. No question. I just have so much Ty Jerome because I'm building it as if DiVincenzo's out.
Fair. Yeah, and we'll see what ends up happening with that scenario, but still up in the air. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with the Warriors. I tend to think DiVincenzo and Draymond Green are going to sit. I just don't know that for sure. We got some questions in the Discord channel as well. The first one we have here is from Four Prong Digger. He wants to know who our favorite player is on DraftKings for $5,800 utility spot. So he's $5,800 left.
Okay. DK, I'm listening now. Nick Claxton.
$5,800 or less.
He gets the Onyeka Okongwu will probably foul me 400 times bump.
I'm looking through all the different players, also trying to export my lineups and upload them. I feel like it shouldn't be Nick Claxton, but
it is. Trust your instincts, Luke.
It's not my name. All right, let's say
come on. Star Wars.
It's John Collins for me, actually.
Well, I mean, they're just in completely different stratospheres of pricing.
I have Collins projected for more fantasy points, though. They're
Oh,
only
I have
$400 apart.
Claxton. Let's see. Yeah, it'd be John Collins for me too. I have him for 35.5 fantasy points.
See, look at that.
See, tip to tip. It had to
There
happen
we go.
eventually.
Yeah,
All
you're
right.
on my side now.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry, updating my lineups, hitting the rerun again. JEW, DK single entry. Is Warren a good pivot off of Connaughton, even though Curry is back? I am not playing TJ Warren today. I know he went absolutely nuts the other day, but I think that there's better players to get to.
I would agree.
The next question from MJazz24, is the Bogdan move more about having enough active guys? I think it's about trying to limit his minutes a little bit.
Yeah, injury management. I thought he had a good chance of just sitting. But apparently with Trae Young sitting because he actually got hurt, they're like, can you please play a little bit? And they're going to run him out there.
Yeah. So it's not a scenario where I think that it means that we get, like 20 minutes out of Bogdanovich or anything like that. But in some of these recent starts, I mean, we've seen him play all of the minutes. And I think that it just means that they could give him, 3-4 less minutes.
Yep.
Still makes him a good play, just not as good as he was before.
Yep. Do you think Jamal Murray plays tonight?
I think he's legitimately going to warm up and see how he feels.
Okay.
Tall Tale wants to know, what nugget should we thumbs up in Fantasy Cruncher for DK?
What I'm trying to do with this Bones Highland garbage that I'm thinking about.
I don't really think you have to. Here's the reason why. I'm already going to be getting to Warriors guys, and I'll just swap off of them. Like, I'm not going to say like I have to get to Nuggets guys. Whatever Warriors players you have, like those will be able to be swapped into Denver players if players get ruled out.
Agreed. Yeah, it's more of looking at some of the positional aspects of it and trying to get even more swappability. That's kind of the word we've coined for this, just having ultimate swappability to move around. But with Malik Monk there over on FanDuel at 4,600, I don't think you have to think about it too much. That's $100 away from getting to a Bones Island. $4,700 on both sites is he. Over on DK, it's a little bit more of a stretch, kind of making that a 1-for-1 type deal. But, you should have some interest in taking shots on these Golden State guys throughout the entire lineup. I think getting to a lot more Jordan Poole, a lot of Jonathan Kuminga. And then for me, I'm adding Moody and Jerome to the fray. I should have the ability to get to at least a little bit of a potentially starting Bones Highland.
Got a question here from Jets World. How many players are available for the Atlanta Hawks? Well, I'm going to show off my counting skills right now and look at.
Oh, you can count. Good for you.
Goddamn right I can. DeJounte Murray, Onyeka Okongwu, Bogdanovich, John Collins, AJ Griffin, Jalen Johnson, Aaron Holiday, Trent Forrest, Justin Holiday, Frank Kaminsky, Tyrese Martin, Vit Krejci. So they have 12.
Hey, shooter, did you forget your 9-iron?
Oh, no, 13. I forgot about Jarrett. They have a full roster today. Full roster.
Yeah, they do.
Full roster. Jaw 1-2-2-4, DK Cash 2v2, Simmons and Bogdanovich, or Poole and Grayson Allen. I'll say Simmons and Bogdanovich.
Orlando's up 9-0 on Detroit. Not ideal. Not ideal when you take points prop from Detroit guys. Real fun. We're having fun. It's also 15-4 there in Phoenix. Hello.
Super chat from Corey Balmer is Bam or Poole on DK for the last man in. I prefer Poole.
I prefer Poole too. I like Poole a lot everywhere today. Especially DK. I don't understand what's going on with his ownership on DK.
In terms of
he's 7%.
I mean, it's because he's 8,600.
I don't care. You take DiVincenzo, Draymond Green. You take Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins. Legitimately, he could chuck the ball 25 times. I want to get to an unlimited amount. Regardless of how regardless about how De'Aaron Fox worked out last night, these are just very, very interesting situations where I think you just want to be getting to those guys. Like if Domantas Sabonis doesn't play again, than De'Aaron Fox. You can get more exposure to him than coming off of Jordan Poole. It's a 1v1 swap. Like, it's such an easy thing to preload into your lineups with Jordan Poole. And the fact that nobody's doing it is kind of weird to me.
I don't know. With all those guys off the court, 33% usage rate, just under a fantasy point per minute. I don't have an issue getting to him. I think there's a ceiling, but I don't think the 7% ownership is insane.
But I'm saying if Domantas Sabonis doesn't play, I just turn it into De'Aaron Fox again.
Yeah, no, that's reasonable as well.
So like, just preload Jordan Poole in your lineups.
The next super chat by the way, as for the answer, I do prefer Bam Adebayo to Jordan Poole.
To Jordan Poole? Oh, I prefer Jordan Poole for sure.
The next question we have is from Clownin01, Connaughton or Beverly, Pat Connaughton.
Pat Connaughton is a really good value play. He's the best piece of value sub 5K that we have on the DraftKings slate right now.
We've got a question from Vinny. It is specifically for you. And then we'll look at some of the no-house advantage, some of the props.
You preface that in a way that I'm not excited, and I haven't looked at chat in like 10 minutes. So
Eric, only asking you.
Here.
Aqua Mini or elevators?
What?
I don't know. Hey, that's just what the question is.
It's Aqua Minis. Aqua Mini or elevators? What? I don't know what that first one is. I'm going to have to Google it now. AQUEMINI. Oh, from Outcast. Elevators. Oh, my gosh. Well, I mean, because I was Speaker Vox and Love Below. The whole room fell silent. Paul calls me, turning left, turning right as they're looking at me, but I was looking at them. They're there on the dance floor. Now they got me in the middle feeling like a manhole, especially the big girls need love too. No discrimination here, squirrel. Now keep your hands up, cheeks. Let me study how you ride the beat, you big freak. Skinny, slim women got the camel toe, then we hunt them, lift them, bend them, give them something to remember. Yell out timber when you fall through the chop stop. Take a deep breath and exhale. Your ex-male friend Boyford is born as hell. Now let me listen to the story you tell. We can make moves like a person in jail on the low ho.
Is DeJounte, Bogdan, and Collins in one lineup okay?
Yes.
I don't have an issue with that.
None. No issue.
Okay, Bammer Poole. We answered that. We answered the Eric singing question. Did we get anything else in Discord? If not, then Jordan, pull up the NHA props, and we'll look at those and try to see if there's anything we can find that we like there. But first, 4-prong dinger with no Wiggins and Green Market with no Wiggins and Green Markkinen. Oh, so here's the issue. Like the players who are out for the Warriors, it for sure benefits guys on the Jazz and players like Markkinen, but there's so much good value on the slate and more of it's going to open up later. It's hard to prioritize Lauri Markkinen, and he's not somebody to be playing in single entry.
That is correct. Spanish Armada, 1594.
Cully Poston, I want a Nets run back with all my Hawks. What is your Nets ranking order? It is tough to roster a whole. Well, it depends what site you're playing on. My answer is going to be Ben Simmons in general, but Simmons has played really well lately, and there's been almost no upside from these Nets players as of late.
Kevin Durant still worked out nice the other day from a raw points perspective.
He scored 51 at 10,500. It's fine.
Yeah, but it was on a slate where there was like nobody else to spend up for at the position, and I still made money. So, Greg.
Yeah, but also, I mean, Paul George was $1,000 cheaper and scored like 10 more fantasy points.
Oh, and I couldn't roster them both together. That's fascinating.
The point, though, is I don't think Kevin Durant is a very good play. Like,
I agree. I have 5% of him. He's coming in at 8%. The Kyrie Irving shot at 8,400 makes a lot more sense to me. That it feels like we've had a lot of these slates where you have low 8K guys that we can kind of spin the roulette wheel and try to hit on a couple. I think you're starting to get to a price point now with Kyrie at 8,400 where I'm legitimately interested in trying to get on the come up on that. They haven't had a lot of competitive games, but when they do, he's been playing upwards of 40 minutes. Now, they're 7-point favorites in Atlanta on the road. Got to help a little bit here, but like Kyrie Irving's going to have one of those games where his assist props constantly look good on OddsShopper in the NBA prop tool. I feel pretty good about Kyrie Irving 8,400 being a pretty underlooked piece of today's slate.
Some players from, but this is starting with the Wizards Suns game, just some of the information so far. Decent start for Porzingis, 6 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. Kuzma has 9 points and a rebound. On the Suns, nobody's really doing anything. We are 4 minutes left in the first quarter. The Suns have 12 points, 2 points, 2 assists for Chris Paul. And then you got Ayton and Bridges each with 4 points, 4 rebounds, and assists. So that game is one that I feel pretty good that we don't really have a lot of exposure to. And then pretty much the same in the Orlando-Detroit game. Banchero is 2 points and a steal. Fultz does have 4 assists. On the Detroit side of the game, Jaden Ivey, 0 points, a rebound and an assist. Killian Hayes, fine start, 5 points, a rebound and an assist. But there's not any must-play type guys in the first game, which I hope it keeps up that way.
Me too.
That'll make me feel good.
Me too. I had a little bit of Monty Morris on FanDuel because, again, I just projected out that 5,600. I don't know how he even showed up, but Duran was the only guy I got to on DK. Not a bad start. 2-6. I'll take it.
The NHA props, which, by the way, if you guys have not signed up at NHA, click on our link below to sign up. You're going to get up to a $50 bonus on your first deposit. And you can play some props against the house there as well. So if you're in a state that does not have legal sports betting, you could still play some props over at No House Advantage. And we have projections that are going to help you find some winning numbers that we got here over at Stokastic. So pulling some of these up and then also going to make this bigger on the screen.
Why is Noel showing up for me all of a sudden? This is gross.
Wait, there's a Banchero number up right now?
No way.
Bet the under on. Okay, so if this is available, bet the under on NBA. Oh, never mind. It's gone.
Okay.
I was going to say Banchero's still up. The game has started and he's off to a really shitty start. And I need to take his unders.
Way to go. Try to take advantage of our sponsor there.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, it was up. It was up. They were trying to give you freebies. They give you guys enough freebies and overlay. Take advantage of that.
Let's see. Just keep scrolling, Jordan. Let's see what looks good. What's the DeJounte Murray number? Can you read that, Eric? It's too small for me.
Yeah, DeJounte Murray, 23.5.
Oh, over on DeJounte Murray points.
Yeah, over to the moon.
Yeah, so DeJounte Murray over points. What other Hawks players are there?
John Collins, 14.5. I like that a lot.
These are
Useful.
pretty stale numbers. It doesn't look like they've been updated for Trae.
Useful, Miladi, useful.
Keep going down if you could, Jordan. John Collins, 14.5.
Pause.
What happened?
Keep going down, Jordan.
Oh.
There aren't many opportunities for me to pull the pause out on somebody else. I gotta utilize them sparingly.
It's hard. I didn't even realize what it is that I had said. I meant it in multiple ways. And Jordan, it would be appreciated if you were a good producer.
HR on the phone. Oh, I found out. Yeah.
Yeah. The good thing is I haven't done the sexual harassment training yet this year, so I don't know.
Oh, so you're still safe.
I've been doing a bunch of extra shows filling in lately, and whenever we have one of those HR things for the sexual harassment training, I'm never available. So I feel like I can get away. I don't know. Nobody taught me the proper way to behave.
Yeah. Good joke, Jordan. Way to come in and really kill the punchline there.
But
way to go.
But every time we've had one so far, I've either had a meeting or a show. Bogdanovich over 3.5 assists. That's about fair. DeJounte Murray. Also, I prefer the points. I assume we could only do one prop from each individual player.
I forgot how much more enjoyable it was to upload CSVs on FanDuel, where you can just drag it from Chrome and put it directly into the box on FanDuel, and it's there. Like, what a beautiful thing. I forget. It's the small things in life, and that is definitely one of my favorite features and characteristics about FanDuel. Thank you, guys. Thank you for figuring that out for us.
There are certain things. So the other thing FanDuel does better than DraftKings, the global swap. How DraftKings has not figured out a better way to global swap, insane.
They don't care. That's the only answer.
Neither
They're like, these idiots will play anyway. We're not going to add a feature that costs us money.
I don't even think it costs money. Just let me swap to players who are more expensive. We've got 30 seconds left, Jordan. Yeah. Eric.
But you chill.
Are there any other props you like here?
I liked all the Atlanta ones. Let me take one more look over at No House Advantage to round it out. I ended up on some overs for Ivy earlier. How's he doing? Doesn't seem well considering he's not on the floor. That would be a problem. What is he? -8 in very limited time, 1 foul, 7 minutes played. Not a great start from my guy, but there have been some really good shot on goal opportunities from the hockey streets. And I know Jake Hari, I just want to give a shout out to our guy, Jake Hari over there. Some of these 2.5 lines have been very, very stale in the shot on goals, looking at some of those overs. So be paying attention to those. Those show up on No House Advantage quite a bit. And I've been starting to partake in those around the industry. So you might want to keep an eye on those. If you guys have Stokastic, go over to the premium hockey chat, jump in there, dip your toes in once in a while.
All right, guys, that is going to do it for me. If you have not done yet, do us a big favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's still a lot of news to come out. The 2 spots you should be paying attention to: Denver Nuggets, Golden State Warriors in the late spot. So make sure you're updated on whoever ends up being ruled in or out in that spot. Other than that, thank you guys very much for watching, and good luck tonight.